This is Les McCurdy, McCurdy's Comedy Theater, Sarasota, Florida. We're sitting in the green room behind the stage where the comics hang out before they go up on stage. As a matter of fact, you can walk from the green room just right onto the stage. It sits in the middle of the stage, and on the other side is the box office. And what you're going to hear is the conversation that the comics naturally have during the performance. That's what this is all about. It's not an interview. It's not a performance. It's just our conversation. Same as you sitting around with your friends, and it could go anywhere. It could be chaotic. It could go all over the place. It could be very specific. And remember, we're not experts on anything either. We're just having a nice conversation. That's what we do in the green room. That's what you want to be a part of, and we hope you enjoy the conversation. Welcome to the conversation. We're sitting in the green room, conversation from the green room, Mccurdy's before the show, the comics, Vinnie Ward, Scott Novotny. Vinnie's our feature act, Scott's our headliner.
Hi, nice to meet you.
Mike,
Yeah,
you guys haven't met before.
No, we'll meet on mic.
Oh, and you're talking into the top of the mic. This is one you're talking to the side of.
Yeah.
It's
right there.
I know.
There you
Come
go.
on,
Beautiful.
Scott. I don't know what to say. And then Mike, our producer, he's over here with a allergy.
Yeah, big time. So
And
I
it's
won't
allergy
talk.
season. It is. We were discussing that. You didn't know what your allergy was.
No idea where it came from, no.
But you got a good country western music voice now.
Yeah, like a sexy, like snotty voice a little bit.
I wouldn't think it's sexy.
Not
but
sexy?
The,
No.
the snotty part, though. That's
Just disgusting. Just gross.
I like how you went to country and western, and in Mike's mind,
Like,
that
that's
went
sexy.
sexy somehow. Somehow, the fact that he has this snotty, go, yeah, sexy.
I'm sexy in Oklahoma for sure.
I don't know. I've been to Oklahoma.
I just like how he didn't know where his allergies came from.
No.
But every March he gets it. He
Yeah,
just
no,
can't-
right.
he
What
can't figure it
happens?
out.
What happens? That's
He's
different.
like, man, I gotta go see a doctor.
Yeah.
I performed in Oklahoma a while back, and the owner of the club came up and says, "You Northerners talk too fast," from Minnesota.
Yeah.
So you Northerners talk too fast. So you got to get. I said, "Yeah, right. Slow it down." Yeah, sure. And so I'm doing my show, and I'm not getting nothing. I go, "Well, let's try the slow down thing." And so I slowed my show down, and I probably did my 45 minutes like I did 30 minutes in 45 minutes.
Right.
I just spoke a lot slower.
And it worked?
Yes, it worked really, really well. And it's not that they were dim. I think that it's just that their cadences they were used to, hearing
Sure.
things a little. No, they were pretty dim. But I
Uh-oh.
was trying to be nice. No, it was one of those things. It was really funny, and I don't think of myself as a fast talker, but. Throughout my career, I've had people say you might want to slow down a little bit.
Yeah.
You get kind of excited up
Have
there.
you? I found that when I would work country clubs down here, where the average, the age group 65 to 85, and it's like we would get up there and you'd be firing through, even with a Southern accent, but you're firing in a lot of energy like a club, and it just sets them back. They're just like, whoa, man, And then we learned to slow down, take our time. And they were more accepting of it.
Yeah, but that's a combination of old age plus hearing aids. So you need to, remember that hearing aids are involved with about 75% of our audience.
Right,
so.
right. We got sidetracked off of your allergy, though, Mike.
Oh, back to the allergy. We got to get to the bottom of this
Just
list.
bottom of this allergy thing. Oh, my God.
Yeah.
Yeah, Oklahoma. I just played it once when I was touring. You ever been there,
No.
Vinnie? No. One day. See, that's what you aspire to.
If you're from Oklahoma and you book.
Getting to Tulsa.
If you visualize something hard enough, Vinny,
Yeah.
Then you're
Oklahoma's
there.
on-
dreams come true.
Then you're there. Absolutely. But, oh, good. She brought you a Red Bull.
I got my lovely wife just brought me a Red Bull.
Nice.
I've been staying away from these things because I know exactly how absolutely horrible these are for you.
Everybody that drinks them says the same thing right before they open it and drink it. My daughter just did it the other day.
Yeah.
They get it and they go, I know how horrible this is, and then chunk.
Yep.
Yeah.
And I'm like, that's how That's how heroin starts. I mean, really. I mean,
Red Bull to heroin?
Yeah.
There's no in between.
Did you hear me open this thing? You know, my wife and I will sneak in our soda pops at the theater. You know, we'll buy the popcorn. You know, we'll buy the
Hey,
popcorn.
Marcella.
Hi guys.
She scurries away and runs.
But we're sneaking in the pop. I mean, they're getting like $9 from this, you know, the pop.
Oh, yeah.
So you draw the line at the pop.
At pop, you know, because I mean, we're already talking about what's it cost them, 34 cents to maybe put and that's the you know, the carton is probably.
Well, all they've done with a Red Bull is taken the same concept as a pop, which where I come from, it's a Coke. It's all Coke. Yeah.
I should mention we're not sponsored by Red Bull.
No, we're not. No, we're not. No, unfortunately, we ain't sponsored by shit yet. But we'll name drop till somebody goes, hey, we like that. You know, what are you drinking over there, Yingling? All right.
This is one long plug for beverages.
That's right. I got a cup of Maxwell House.
So they show the same previews to the trailers, like for example, Pet Sematary is the big one that's on right now. So
Right.
we absolutely know where the loud parts are of that particular trailer, and that's the time when the truck goes by, we go. we pop open our, because that's such a noise in the theater, you know.
Yes.
And that was funny. I don't know if you went to the movie where everything had to be really quiet. The Quiet Place, I think it was called.
No.
You know what I'm talking, isn't that the one where the creatures hear noises, and if they hear a noise, they'll come and kill you, right?
Oh.
So the movie theater is really, it's tough to like even eat popcorn because the movie is so quiet that you go reaching for the popcorn, and all you hear is, and then you crunch, crunch, crunch. You can actually hear people crunching. I mean, it was so quiet. It was so funny. It was like I can't.
So eerie.
Oh, you know the last one movie Pam and I went to. It's it's whatever cellophane, anything that's in cellophane, you know, is what is the most obnoxious shit going on. And we went to a movie just recently. It was an afternoon one. There was a bunch of people there. They're all 60 and 70, and that's the reason it was in the afternoon. It was packed, you know. And there was a guy that was just, I mean, it sounded like he had taken a paper bag and put some plastic, like, bubble wrap in it and was just doing like an accordion. I mean, just oblivious till everybody just started yelling at the guy.
Did they really?
Yes.
Because normally people are so polite that they won't do it. But
No, man, people, these, you know, because, you know, these are old people. They don't give a shit.
No, they don't.
No, they'll tell you, shut up.
I know it's in the Oslo Theater, and as part of their announcements, besides the cell phone, they say, and if you have anything that requires to unwrap with cellophane, please do it now.
Yes.
They actually announced
Well,
that.
you know, it's kind of wild that and that's not a movie theater, but a play theater.
It's a real play theater.
Yeah, play theater. It's amazing they let you bring shit in that they used to. You never could bring food or drinks into a play.
Yeah.
You know, that was never allowed.
I remember as a kid, there was this is really ages you, but when I was at the Lawler Theater in Rochester, Minnesota, and I would ride my bike down to watch a triple feature horror film, you know, some really crappy thing like The Vampire and the Ballerinas, real movie, you know, Paranoia. I mean, really, really crappy stuff. But I loved monster movies when I was a kid. And so you'd go buy the candy at the beginning of the show, and they used to have these things called the atomic hot fireballs. They were jawbreakers. And the Lawler Theater had like a cement floor, so if you dropped one of those fireballs, you could actually hear it roll all the way down to the front of the
Absolutely.
screen. It was so funny.
Absolutely. Just the fact, just thinking about hard candy as being a candy that anyone would buy anymore. Mm-hmm. You know what I mean? I mean, do you, Vinny? I mean, do you?
No.
No.
But I used to.
Oh, really?
Remember Warheads? Warheads.
Oh, yeah. But didn't Warheads have something inside of them?
They're sour.
Super
It had
sour.
like a sour,
Super sour.
sweet tart
And
kind
then it
of
was
thing,
sweet.
wasn't
It was like super sour, and then it was sweet once you got to the middle of it and everything.
That was the payoff.
Yep.
Yeah.
Hard.
I just like that whole concept of, as human beings, we will take something, look at it, express to everyone around us that this is something really horrible for me to ingest, and then as quickly as we can, once we've made that disclaimer, you don't hesitate a moment. You just dive right in that piece of shit.
Yep.
You know? And it's just, I don't know.
Yeah, they made a
human
candy
nature.
out of that, and people bought it.
Yeah.
I never enjoyed a Warhead, but I bought them all the time.
But yeah, for some reason, they're like trading cards.
Yeah, so you won't eat the green
I
one.
won't eat the green one, bro.
We had a thing when I was a kid called Snaps, and they were basically pieces of soap licorice. Imagine what they tasted like, soapy licorice. And they were absolutely horrible. But you got a whole box of them for like 2 cents. I mean, so it was the quantity. That was like, I'm getting so many of these crappy little pieces of candy
Hell of a deal.
for 2 cents.
It reminds me when I first got out of college and me and Ken's sons moved out. We're going out west and got into comedy, and we were working a day job where we were living in Denver. Now this was in the early 80s, but I think I made, my salary was maybe $1,000 a month trying to live in Denver. You know what I mean? And Ken was just a little more than that. So we would buy Carlo Rossi jug wine. It's the worst, and we tried them all to see what was the actual. I'm gonna. How many pictures are you gonna take? It's enough. I keep hearing the clicking, and Jay's back there, and I go, Jesus Christ.
We have a photographer for this podcast.
I
even
know.
though it's audio
You
only.
got hooked on. I got hooked on Vinnie.
Yeah.
But you know, we literally go, let's find the shittiest, cheapest jug ass wine, and we got the Burgundy because it was the very hardest to drink. Because we go, we can't you have to take your time with that. It would last the longest because we couldn't afford anything else. You know,
Yeah.
So you pick the shittiest
shittiest candy, the shit. You just goes. That's all the money you got. You know.
My grandmother used to have these things called sen-sens. Do you remember these things?
No.
They're basically kind of it's very similar to the Snaps. They have that kind of a licorice taste, and it's basically a Snap, only even tinier. But it was used for breath. I don't know why, because it smelled horrible, I thought. But that was like her candy. She had like the Brock's mix that you'd get from the store,
Yeah.
and that would be in those little the mint things, like those little pastel looking mints.
Sure.
And those would be like her staple, you know. So we'd go down to Grandma's house and go, oh, there's just the candy selection's so horrible here.
Of course it is.
You know, and then of course then we tried these sen-sens and be like, oh, they're just horrible. And then we'd have another one. Oh, just because there was nothing.
Anything that had sugar in
And
it.
they have-
You're
that's
like,
right.
what the
Yep.
fuck?
No.
What about Pez dispensers? Remember those?
Those are my
That was
favorite.
like a
Yeah.
gimmick, though. It was like you
That
bought-
was, I mean, that wasn't around when I was a little kid. They popped
Yeah.
Yeah.
70s maybe.
But you were buying like the dispenser.
Yes,
That's what you bought. Like,
Because you
didn't-
ran out of candy quick.
Yeah, because it was.
They give
Right.
you 1 pack of 10.
And it was the same candy. The candy never varied.
Did you collect them then? Did you?
Oh
hang-
no.
I had a
I
bunch
didn't.
of them,
I didn't
yeah.
fall for scams when I was a kid. I do now when I'm grown up. But,
Yeah, there you go.
but no, I was
No,
like,
no,
I
you
didn't
don't
get
have
it.
a vat of Beanie Babies in your
Beanie
garage.
Babies?
Oh,
No.
I was Beanie Baby.
No, I didn't
I was
collect
all
anything
that.
like that. Comic books, nothing.
No.
I just didn't fall for
they
it.
go- people that would invest in Beanie Babies.
Oh yeah.
Oh yeah.
You know,
I'm
pouring my retirement into
right,
this
yeah.
shit.
My kid's going to college with this Princess Di purple teddy bear.
Oh,
Yeah.
God.
Beanie Baby Hunters.
I think I would have made money off that Beanie Baby thing, but I got a puppy and he ate like all of them. And then like 5 years later, they were like, "Oh, this one's worth money. This one's," and I was like, "Man, I had that one. Man, I had
Yeah.
that one."
Yeah.
Well, that was always the whole concept with any of that collectible shit.
You had to hold
Right.
on to it. Yeah.
We not only have to hold on to it, you can't take it out of the box.
yeah.
Yeah.
You go, you can't play with it. You can't do shit with it.
Yeah.
You just got to put a box over there. Oh, it's fucking
That's a weird
ridiculous.
thing. Yeah.
It's a BOGO thing. You know, buy one, play with one.
Yep.
Got ya.
BOGO. Buy one, play with one. So
Yeah.
put one. away.
Bopo.
Yeah, Bopo.
So this is where we dropped allergy medicine. If we had a sponsorship for your
Yeah, we're sponsored by Claritin
Claritin,
clearance,
Zyrtec,
That's it.
Flonase.
for getting me through this podcast.
Actually,
That's right.
we'd probably be sponsored when we're like Equate. Which
yeah,
is
that's some like generic brand.
I don't give a shit.
Walmart's generic.
Absolutely. I remember when I first moved down here to Sarasota, the first 2 or 3 years I was here, this season would hit, spring, And I literally, for about 3 or 4 days, would break out in hives all over my body, And I went to the doctor the first time. I was like, Jesus, what up? He goes, it's a jungle, bro. It's a jungle. You really live in a jungle. They've carved out civilization out of a jungle, and that's what you live in. He goes, so ever so often during the year, and he goes, all year long, something's blooming. Yeah. All year long. Something different's blooming. And he's shooting all these spores and shit out into the air that your body has, from Tennessee or Minneapolis or what, has never come in contact with. And so, you ingest it, and your body just freaks out. It doesn't know what it is, doesn't know what to do with it. And he goes, but don't worry. He goes, over a period of time, you'll build up the immunities to it. And sure enough, I think it was about 3 years in that quit happening, But you do kind of forget when you're in a civilized, area that, whether it's when it's an extreme, whether it's extreme north or extreme south. But down here, it's a tropical jungle, and there's shit.
Which is weird because I was born here, so that just means my immune system sucks.
Yeah,
It's probably because you're ginger.
Yeah. I shouldn't be here.
So what has been going on your whole life is that the tropics have been trying to tell you to move, and you refuse.
It's trying to kill me.
I'm
a survivor, Les.
Oh, I ain't going. I ain't leaving.
Yeah. And I'm allergic to cats and dogs. It's like, what the hell?
Oh,
well, I just know that I was much more sick up in Minnesota. Every winter there would be that moment where I'd been in the cold, in the warm, in the cold, get a little tired, and then I'd get it. Whatever that thing was that you'd get. I don't get it down here, so I'm kind of happy to be away from the snow for a while.
Nice. You take flu shots?
No, I don't. I don't want to. I don't need it. I don't do the flu shots.
I do it. I didn't for a while, and even down here, every winter, I'd catch that thing, and that just kicks your ass for like a week to 10 days. I mean, just knocks you into the damn dirt. And when I started doing flu shots, seems like, and I remember asking my cousin. My cousin's a doctor, and he's up in Tennessee, so I would just generally call him whenever anything's going on and just get him to send me something, prescribe me something. But I go, I got that thing. I don't know if it's the flu. He goes, oh, it's going around. He goes, this is the crud. I go, you're a doctor. He goes, that's what we call it. He had walk-in clinics. He goes, we just call it the crud. I go, come up, make something up. You're a fucking medical doctor. Jesus Christ, make up something.
If I pay my $50 copay and you tell me I got the
crud, credulous.
There was a comedian that we knew that was in pharmaceuticals down in Kentucky, and the guy came in and said, I got the moops. The moops. What's the moops? He goes, I don't know about got it. I got the moops. I got them moops.
That sounds like there's got to be diarrhea connected to that.
We did that through a comedy class, and so everybody referred to the moops at some point in their show. He had to make sure that's the word of the day.
Nice.
Everybody's going to do something about the moops. It was a funny word.
That was a funny word.
Yeah.
Doctors are kind of like weed dealers. They're just making up terms.
Yeah.
It's like a strain of marijuana.
Yeah.
This is called the moops.
This is the moops right here, man.
Yeah.
You don't want to smoke it alone.
Right. A buddy of mine was trauma nurse forever, for 30 years. He said, biggest misconception about medicine is, and when you show up in the hospital or whatever, is you think no matter what you have, no matter what's going on with you, that we can diagnose it, that we can know. He goes, there's a lot of times we just don't know. Doctor doesn't know. Nobody knows. I mean, they're guessing. They're making some good, educated guesses, but they don't know. Hey, Lori. Our computer girl. Lady. But he said, we just don't know.
Yeah.
And like I say, there's sometimes you just think medical science now knows everything.
Well, it's like
it's a practice for a reason, though.
Yeah.
It's like they open up the junk drawer, that you have got it in the kitchen and start poking around and go, here, this thing.
Yeah, there you go.
See if this will work.
Try that.
Give that a shot.
That's it, work.
Give them an antibiotic. Give them a shot of penicillin. Does anybody get a shot of penicillin anymore? I've never heard of that in years.
Yeah.
You know?
We could make things out of the junk drawer. I remember when we used to have like popsicle sticks and a rubber band. That's all we needed. And you could make yourself a nice pretend switchblade out of that. You know, you'd have this thing, and you'd bend it over with and you'd pull the thing. Boom.
Times was tough. In
Yeah.
this.
That's badass
pretend
Minnesota there,
switchblade.
buddy.
You making shakes in your
Yeah.
If I got mugged by a popsicle stick and a rubber band,
I'd be so
I'd be
mad.
so mad.
Yeah.
By a switchblade popsicle.
Oh,
Even worse.
God.
That's a tough guy.
Yeah. My buddy Ken, son's comedian, you know, works here a lot. His son Kai is old school like that. He's like 9 years old, and it's like he goes, I'll go throw trash out, and then next thing I know, Kai's got half the trash back out in his room, and go, look, man, I threw that out. He goes, no, man. He's like, I can do stuff with this stuff, you know. And he's one of those kids that just likes to, you know.
The cardboard box thing. Where
Yeah,
you're
yeah.
building the fort and everything.
Absolutely.
I was that kid too.
Absolutely.
He-
He'd rather have that stuff than stuff you bring from the store.
He's wearing a Jiffy Pop helmet.
Jiffy Pop helmet. Do people still make Jiffy
I
Pop?
bet you they do. I bet
Do
you.
they?
I bet you.
I thought it was all microwave.
Well,
Maybe it's microwave.
hey, if I found a Jiffy Pop, I'd probably pick it up just for nostalgia's sake.
I did. That's one of those. Do you guys even know what Jiffy Pop is?
No.
Is it like Jiffy Lube?
No.
Or-
It was a popcorn that came. It is a pan, and there was aluminum foil on the
Yep.
top.
I had those at
And
Cub
you-
Scouts.
You cooked it on there, and
They
it
still
would
have those.
it would
Yeah.
balloon
still
up.
They
right?
have those for camping.
Yep.
Got ya.
They were real simple. Popcorn, it was all right
Yeah.
there. you know?
Oh right,
Yeah.
right.
Yeah, Jiffy Pop made it through the
Recession.
recession.
Yeah.
I remember we used to go to the drive-in movies. We'd make up a couple things of Jiffy Pop, and we'd have the sandwiches and the whole works. And my
yeah.
parents would go out to the drive-in. We were little tiny kids, and of course they wanted to go see things like a John Wayne film,
Oh, sure.
or Doris Day Rock Hudson,
Yes,
some.
absolutely. Of course.
And of course we are in the station wagon, so we in our pajamas. So after the first movie, we all climb in the back and go to sleep, and let them watch the second thing by themselves and give them some peace and quiet. And I remember I would watch the previews to coming attractions, and of course you can only see about through the window from the back thing. So basically, I think it's like a mini. If you can think of a mini rectangle that you're watching this thing. And I remember there was a preview to this movie called The Blob. And
I remember the Blob.
the Blob would,
Blob.
and I saw this preview as a kid, way in the back of the station wagon, and the Blobs. I bet you the Blob terrified me in my dreams for the next like 3-4 years until I finally saw the movie The Blob and realized that's how you kill it. See, my brain couldn't figure out how to ever kill the Blob by watching that preview. It never figured it out.
Right.
So in my brain, in my dreams, I was always going, the Blob is after me.
The
this,
Blob.
This blobby thing. This big,
Didn't they
big
not? Did
hunk
they
of-
not make a remake, like a modern remake of the Blob?
Yeah, they
I
did.
think they did because of that. I remember that movie.
Seemed like it was set in Antarctica or something like
No,
that.
that's the
Oh, no.
thing.
That's-
Oh, the thing.
That was
But
the
they did-
most terrifying movie ever,
Yeah,
by the way.
yeah.
Like, even the original. You remember the original?
Yeah, the original
Yes.
was absolutely scary.
Yeah.
It
How did they?
is
Oh yeah.
It's pretty. Yeah.
it.
was-
The original
Yes.
was
The new one's hilarious.
There
How
was
bad
one
it
that
is.
was there was an old black and white one that got me like the Blob. It was called the Tingler,
Oh, I remember the Tingler. I went to the Tingler at the movie
and
theater.
it was like a I don't know. It
in,
looked
in-
like
in the Tingler in the movie theater. They actually had electric things on your seats. So when the Tingler got into the theater in the movie, the things would go off. It was one of those William.
because didn't
Castle
it
kinda-
get in your spine or something?
Yeah,
or-
it gets you, and it looked
Yeah.
like a big centipede thing.
yeah, and
Well,
then
they
it
just-
gets inside of you
They
and
just
takes.
electric shocking people.
yeah.
It was like fuck. It was worse than A Bug's Life over the Animal Kingdom where they actually sting you.
Yeah.
I don't know if you've been to the thing. It's a 3D movie. If you sit
Oh,
back
yeah,
like
yeah,
this,
yeah.
they have the stingers and this
Really?
little thing pops out. And you go, oh, that
Oh.
really hurts. You know.
Jesus.
Now I haven't felt. Now I've been to some of the Disney ones where they spray water.
Yeah.
at
they have
you
an-
know.
I love
Somebody
that.
sneezes or
Yeah.
something.
I love that
Yeah,
stuff.
yeah,
I love
yeah.
all that stuff.
I never been shocked though. You put on this pack.
Yeah, that's weird.
You hook up all
They
these
did
heart
also-
monitors and
they would try to get you into these movie
Are
theaters.
you sure
no
that was a
matter
movie
what.
theater?
Yeah, the Tingler. There's a scene in the Tingler where the Tingler actually gets out into a movie theater in the movie. So that's when the tingler thing starts going, you know. And I think it was basically underneath your seat.
Yes.
Made your seats vibrate.
Yeah, because the tingler came up.
Yeah.
You just
And
hooked it
Crawled in.
You just hooked it to a car battery.
Yeah.
Just getting shocked.
Someone's backyard.
Well, there were no regulations back then on anything.
Yeah.
You get away with murder.
You'd have to. There was actually some movies where you'd actually have to sign a waiver that says if you die of being scared to death, you know, we will not be responsible. You had to fill out the form of. You'd be
That's
so
just
frightened
hype.
by this
Yeah,
film
yeah,
that
yeah,
you. So we're not going to take any responsibility for you being frightened to death.
I remember going to a drive-in movie one time. Same way with my parents. There were three of them. How many? You had? I know you have. There were three.
Yeah,
Three.
there were three.
And so me and my two sisters, and it was the same. I still remember the movie. The main movie was Paul Newman. I want to say it was called Ombre or something like that. It's a Western.
Yeah, he did an Ombre.
Yeah. And so it was that. And then I don't know what the other movie was, but in the middle, they had trailers for what was coming up.
Mm-hmm.
And this movie was called The Pink Pussycat. The Pink Pussycat. And you got to think back. This is like mid 60s, right? And the idea of seeing a woman in a bikini on film is outrageous.
Right,
I mean, you know, when Jane Fonda or Raquel Welch,
Barbarella,
and that was late 60s. You know, that was just outrageous. And it was a what we would call a strip joint, a titty bar, but of course back then the girls danced in cages,
Go-Go's.
and they go-go girls,
Yeah.
you know, and they wore the like a bikini, but it had fringe on it, and of course they're showing this thing, and it was, you know, it was all about the debauchery and and the girls are shaking and and then I think there was actually like a love scene, and it's kind of in the dark. So it's like they're making love, but you can only see shadows, but you can hear shit. My mother lost her fucking mind. She had a temper, but I'll tell you what, I've never seen her so pissed off. She called the mayor's office the next day.
Holy shit.
She called the mayor. If she could have gotten through to the governor, she would have gotten through to the governor and the president of the United States. Because she had children in the car, you know. She was like, it was one thing that this happened without me expecting it anyway. But another thing, I got kids in the car, and that me and my sisters, I guarantee, my two sisters who are both 15 months younger than me, back. So we were probably 7. You know, I bet we're probably 5, 7, 9, something like that.
I'll bet you experienced your
Oh,
first
my
erection
sisters, to this day, I could go Pink Pussycat, and they'll go, yeah. They remember it. You know, that's ingrained in our heads forever. If I ever saw, what's the damn place in New York next to the Comedy Cellar? It's the Purple
Pussy.
something like there is. It's a name like that, and I remember when I saw it, I was like, I gotta go fuck in there. You know, I gotta go in there. There's shit happening in there.
I remember there was a movie, Faster Pussycat
Kill.
Yeah.
Yes, that one was kind of
That was a
well-known.
black and white.
Yeah.
Russ Vixen, I think is his name, or something like that. Russ Myers, maybe.
Yes.
And
Valley of the Dolls.
Yeah, the big, always the breasts.
Sure.
That was the big deal.
I remember when Valley of the Dolls came out. That was because we were 16 because we had just started driving. So that would have been 1972 maybe, and that was rated X.
Right.
X-rated, and there was no scenes of anybody. I mean, you didn't see any male genitals. I don't even think you saw a vagina. I don't believe you saw breasts, and you saw people grabbing ass, and you know what I mean, that kind of thing. But
man, I wish we had drive-in movies when we had cars.
I mean, there was a few.
Well, that was your makeout. I mean,
Well, that's
when
what I
you
mean.
went on dates.
It's so harder for us to get a hand job sitting next to someone than
Yeah.
in a car.
Now you
by
gotta go
yourself.
To you gotta go to like a really shitty movie that nobody.
Yeah,
wants to
yeah,
watch.
yeah. They had it easy, man. They had their own car.
I
Like,
know.
There's still a few of those drive-ins around. I think there's
Yeah,
one
in
up
the
by
ghetto.
Lakeland still. I think there's one.
if they're still driving, it's in the hood.
Yeah. Or
It may be.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It may be. You used to
Yeah.
have the speaker that hooked on your
Yeah.
window,
Right.
but now you just go through your radio.
Radio
I
station.
think.
Yeah.
Yeah, but he's right. We had to pay like $20 and go to a movie that no one wanted to see and hope no one's
Yeah.
in there,
Right.
just to try to.
Well, the
Yeah.
beautiful
Do
thing
something.
about when we were that was good for us. Not only did you had privacy, you're in your car, but when you ask your date, the girl you're going out, you say, "Hey, you want to go out? Da da da. You want to go to the drive-in?" And she went, "Yeah." Well, ta-da!
Yeah.
You didn't have to wonder
Yeah.
whether you were going to get lucky or at least get somewhere. You at least get the second base.
Yeah.
You're in the damn drive-in, for God's sake.
She answered quick too. Yes.
Yeah.
yeah,
Ours
I'll
was
go.
elbow to elbow with some stranger, and then
Yeah.
you got to try to creep your way to the girl.
Yeah. The
My
reach
wife
over.
was telling me a story about driving. Her and her date were out with another couple. The guys went into the concession stand, and so they took the car and they moved it to another area. So when the guys came back with all the stuff, they were just laughing and giggling because the guys were trying to figure out what the car was. They had all the stuff. And, oh, that was so funny for
They
them.
stole our car.
Yes,
Oh yeah, that's
good
great.
times, good times. I miss the drive-in. They have one still in Minneapolis, and if we get there in the summertime, sometimes we'll try to make an effort to get out. It's a really nice slice of Americana still that is still and very popular. Because you can get in, you can see like 3 movies. They used to have these things called Dusk Till Dawns. That was like they like put 5 movies on.
Oh,
The last movie would be on, and you couldn't see it anymore because the light was coming
Oh,
up.
yeah.
And so you'd see with these faded
Right.
pictures because there was no darkness anymore. It was just crazy. Dusk.
How much
Till-
did it cost?
basically like what, $5.
Ruskin, Florida. There's a drive-in movie
Yep.
theater.
We should
still.
all go. You should take the staff.
Yeah.
Yeah. Right.
Let's see.
My greatest fear is
Yeah,
mosquitoes.
that's it. I think that's the only
Yeah.
one in the state.
That's crazy.
Let's see what they got going on.
Yeah,
there.
they have the first run movies, don't they? The Ruskin does.
Let's see.
Let's see what movies they got.
The Last Family Drive-In.
I'll go
First
after
movie
this.
was
I don't
in
care.
1952, Singing in the Rain. Let's see.
So
what
still
they
got the
got.
old-time classics up.
They got.
That actually sounds like a great title for a movie, The Last Family Drive.
I went a couple
they
times when I was a
got
kid, but
Captain
I remember
Marvel
my mom would sneak
and
me
Ralph and the
Really?
Internet.
in, like, because it was like,
and
$10
Dumbo's
a
coming
car.
soon.
but over like 4, you had to pay extra like 5. So I would lay on the ground and they would throw like
That's
blankets up.
Yeah, we'd always sneak somebody in. That was
Yeah,
that-
but
that-
like, how cheap are you,
Yeah,
Mom? Like, you know what I
it
mean?
doesn't matter.
like-
It's the thrill of the sneaking.
yeah, I would lay on the ground and
Yep.
they just put blankets and stuff
Yep,
on me.
yep. We'd always do that. We'd sometimes with people in the trunk. I mean,
Yeah, just
Like-
for to save you $2.
yeah.
Yeah.
This is,
My dad would do the
You're
same
buying
thing.
popcorn, man.
He would have us go buy like student tickets or like
Oh, and
child
I get
tickets.
pass them back.
And then they're like, well, we're not selling you 4 child tickets to Saving Private Ryan. Like,
Yeah.
we're trying to pull here, Dad. You know what I mean?
$6 a person for 2 movies, and kids 5 to 8 are $1.
Mm-hmm.
Four,
I could pass for
4
8.
are under free. I wonder if they check the trunk because we
Yeah.
always somebody
That's what
had
we
to
were
We
always
were just
saying.
talking
Is
about
that what
we
you're talking
always,
about when I was
that was
looking?
part of the deal. You had to sneak
Just
somebody
save
in.
$2. You just put somebody in the trunk.
Right.
Yeah.
Doesn't
Right. You knew if you were the one that got in the trunk.
yeah.
You're bottom of the fucking totem pole in that car, man.
The funny one is when you go to the drive-in by yourself and you've got like 3 guys.
In the trunk.
Yeah, just me. I just want to see
Kind
this
of
stuff.
creep. Just by
It's,
yourself.
it's like going to Disney World by yourself as,
yeah.
as an
I
adult.
gotta
you
get
know?
ready.
Yeah, why are you wearing a trench coat? You know what
It's
I mean?
it. Security, a man in the teacup all by himself looks a little sketchy. Man in teacup.
Yeah.
Man in Dumbo ride all by himself. Man.
Didn't
grown
Cheech
adult.
and Chong, they did like a sketch or like a recording where it was somebody getting locked in the trunk at the drive-in movie theater. Is that right?
Probably.
Oh, that was funny. And
Yeah.
they couldn't find the keys or something like that. Oh, that was a good one.
If not, you should write that. It's funny.
Cheech and Chong. You got some time left? Maybe not.
Yeah, I got a couple minutes.
Am I doing 20, 25?
Yeah, that's
Okay.
fine. Right in there.
All right.
We have a nice big house.
What do you guys name this
Yeah, I
podcast?
think we were overbooked.
It's like conversation in the green room or some fly on the wall. We have
Fly
stuff-
on the wall conversation.
Yeah.
Conversation in the green room. That's what we're calling it right now.
Trying to figure it out. Yeah.
Yeah. Well, that's the whole concept is. Oh, we were going to say, you were asking earlier who thought of this.
Yeah.
And it was Lynn Coplitz, comedian, and she was here. And I also do a video interview from stage with comics, and I did it for years, and I got away from it. I'm going to start it back up after the show. So it'd be like after this show was over, you guys would come out, and we would talk. My whole concept of that is for the audience to see, they know you as a performer. Now let's get to know you as you.
Right.
You know, we're not really going to talk about comedy.
The audience is, oh man. Ugh.
Well, the whole
Yeah.
I know.
I
But
like
the whole
them so much
concept I
better.
wanted from that was that when I just talk to my patrons, they all think that comics are born this way. That we're like some kind of genetic mutant,
Like X-Men, yeah.
you know, or something. They really do. And I wanted them to realize that comics come from all kinds of backgrounds.
Right.
I mean, any kind of background you can just about think of, there's a comic that comes from that kind of background. And that was so I was telling Lynn about that. She goes, I'd never do that. She goes, I ain't gonna get up there and do that. She goes, you should do a podcast from the green room. And what her concept was, of course, you know, we got our microphones in front of us.
Right.
She wanted us to hang mics to where the comics know that this is being recorded, but they kind of forget.
Right.
So that the conversation really it can get as natural as possible. But last week when we did it, I felt like even with these mics like this,
Yeah.
I didn't feel like anybody was
No.
monitoring themselves. Everybody just kind of talked
Yeah.
same way we generally talk back
Yeah.
here, you know. And so that's the concept.
It'd be cool to put like a camera and stream pre-show,
Yeah, we talked about that.
Yeah.
like off and on,
It'll-
not the whole
it'll
time,
come.
Yes.
but
It'll come. This podcast will evolve.
Yeah,
just like
yeah.
everything else. But
I mean, it'd be cool for it to be live.
yeah.
You know, we ain't there yet.
yeah. That's
Yeah.
all right. Dream it and it'll be there, right?
If you build it, they will come. Yes.
Yep. iHeartRadio, here we
yeah,
come.
exactly. We're gonna be featured.
Yeah, Mark Moran's all
And this
getting all
is a-
nervous.
Yeah, I could say I was on one of the first episodes,
Exactly.
used as a tag.
Yeah. A very successful podcast. We have 10 listeners now.
Yeah,
This is great.
for present.
For present. Yeah. But this is it. Yeah, we're just trying to capture the ambience. What it's like to be in the green room, I guess.
How'd you guys figure out what
Equipment.
equipment to buy?
Um,
It looks like you guys got the top of the top, but I don't know.
Yeah, we have a pretty good AV guy.
at his house.
Yeah,
Yeah.
it's all mine.
He's been waiting for this.
Just collecting dust in my basement. But
It's
Yeah,
amazing. It's amazing what you can buy on Top Hatter.
yeah, on Wish. Yeah, we did a lot of research, and this is probably the better setup that we have just for. Plus, we can use the recording device for like so many other things, like video production and stuff like that.
So when you are doing this and this stuff is going on in the background, is that what you hear pretty much?
Yeah, it picks it up a little bit. It's like
Yeah.
you know somebody's performing. Like that's the idea.
That's cool though.
Yeah, it is kind of cool.
You
I
should-
think there's not a lot of people get to come in here, you know, and see what it's like. I mean, even when I first started just working here, I remember like walking by and like freaking out. Yeah, go ahead and shut it. Walking by and being like nervous just to even like engage some of the comics and stuff like that.
Yeah,
So,
yeah.
It's weird, but then like Les said, we're all just like talking.
No, like I've definitely done
random shit.
podcasts after shows or like the morning before a show, but
Right.
not like during a show.
Yeah, it's a new idea.
It's cool.
I first pitched the idea of like it being like a teacher's lounge, like the comedy break room almost.
Oh.
So it's like, you know, comics like drinking coffee, getting ready to do their sets, like
Yeah.
taking their breaks before. You
No,
know?
that's the
Yeah.
thing. You need a catchy. Every good podcast has like a catchy podcast name.
Yeah, for sure. And I don't think I've come across a comedy break room before. I'm sure something out there exists, but
Yeah, I remember I actually taught high school right out of college. I taught 7th and 8th grade English,
Really?
which I do consider my 2 years of service to my country.
Yeah.
Yeah, no shit, right?
I remember, because gosh, I was just out of college, so I was only maybe 21, 22. Most of the people that were in the teachers' lounge were in their 30s, 40s, 50s. I was, I was in because it was 7th through 12th grade, so I taught basically 7th and 8th grade English, but I also taught like novels class in the senior high. So I was closer to the age of the students than I
Right.
was to
Oh, really?
to the so when the teachers would be hanging around and talking, oh, you're going to have that Steve Schulte, you're not going to like him. I go,
Yeah.
I tell you what, why don't you let me make that decision whether I'm going to like Steve Schulte or not. Don't try to prejudge me into not liking this kid already.
Yeah.
And it was funny because a lot of the kids that the teachers didn't like were the kind of burnouts. The guy. These guys would love shop class. They loved shop class. That was
Right.
their thing.
Yeah.
And so, to me, it was like, you guys are going to make a ton of money working on cars.
Yeah.
I said, you don't need to know the symbolism of Great Gatsby's.
Right, exactly.
Or the Lord of the Flies. If you can read a book, if you can read, and
It's a good start.
yeah.
Yeah.
And so I said, if you show up in my class and you can read and you sit there and you just, you're going to pass my class.
Right,
Yeah.
right.
And I got to know a lot of the kids because it was more their age, and it was.
Right. You could relate to them
yeah.
better than most of the teachers.
So it was sort of good to be out of there after a couple of years because the 18-year-olds.
Yeah.
they're pretty hot as opposed to the teaching staff, which was in their
Yeah, right.
40s and 50s and all jaded,
Yeah, all jaded.
smoking their
Exactly.
cigarettes and.
Oh, I imagine what a teacher's lounge was like back then. That's crazy.
Yeah.
That's when you were able to paddle people too, right?
Well, there was
Disciplinary.
an age. I mean, growing up, where you'd be acting up at the supermarket, and some complete stranger comes smack you in the back of the head,
Wow.
just out of nowhere. I mean, you say, "Hey, you kids."
Yeah, right. Right.
I remember I knew I
do
was a
that.
teacher when I was solidly a teacher when I was downtown Cokato, Minnesota, and the kids were running across the street, and I'm going, "Hey, slow down! Watch out for the cars!"
Right.
And I'm going, "Oh, Scott,
What am I doing?
stop it!
Oh,
I
that's
don't need to
funny.
be the."
Yeah.
English teaching is really a tough field for teachers. But what people don't understand about English teachers is that you can't do multiple choice questions every single. And just have you read a
Right.
chapter in a history thing, and then you give a kid some multiple choice, and then I got to
easy.
read all the journals. I got to read all
Right.
the essays. I got to correct all the language. And it's and they didn't have interns back then. It was just like you just did it all, and it was.
Yeah, no teachers' assistants or anything
No.
like that.
No, I'd wake up at 6:30 in the morning, go to bed at midnight. Also, I was directing the plays, helping
wow.
helping with speech, running a club, a social club for the Misfits. We came up with a thing called it was like the film. It was a film society where we'd bring movies into like on a Friday night once a month. We'd bring
Like
a
club.
movie. Yeah,
Like
a club.
kind of thing. Yeah. Wow.
And so they were very proud of their little club. They did a great job with it, and they became these kind of heroes at the school because here was this really neat thing to go do on a Friday night. And we would bring in things like I think we brought in Alice in Wonderland, which
Right.
they thought was really cool because they were like
Yeah.
such a stony. And
She ate mushrooms, bro. Like, yeah.
but we're talking about the reel-to-reels we bring in. I mean,
Right,
we bring
right.
in the projector and the kids. It was pretty neat. That was pretty cool.
It's packed out there.
Is it?
I love McCurdy's.
Man,
I know you've been all over. Is it always this packed wherever you go?
No,
For you?
no.
For you?
Yeah, I would like
On
to
a
say
Thursday?
Yeah.
I did.
I
did
I-
a show once at a
don't think
casino in
there's an empty
Minneapolis
chair.
for nobody. I mean, it literally was nobody there.
Oh my
I
God.
invented an audience. I always said, "So
You
where are
set
you
it to
guys?
your time?
Where are you guys?" Yeah, I had to do my time. I had to do it. I wasn't gonna get paid. So
That's
That's
so crazy.
crazy.
Wow.
maybe someone will walk in
Oh yeah.
or not. And they didn't. And so I would invent a couple that were on a honeymoon, and then over here, I'd say, "Where'd you
Oh,
guys?
God.
Where'd you guys go?" And I had them heckling each other. And,
It's just like your own little puppet
They're like,
show,
this
yeah.
guy's insane.
I had a whole group of invisible mime convention over there on that side. They said they're laughing. I can tell, but
That's crazy.
I mean,
The only time that ever happened to me, I went to a show, and there was like 3 people there, and they refunded the 3 people, and they still paid us.
Really?
I was still gonna do time because
So you
I've done
just-
time in front of.
Nobody. Yeah.
Yeah, I've done time in front of 2 or 3 people, but we were like, no, let the show go on. I drove like 3.5 hours.
Right.
And they're like, no, we're just gonna refund them and we'll still pay you guys. I was like, whatever.
Yeah.
Well, we've done what I would do. I've told them, they said, don't. You can refund them in the money if you want to, but what we'll do is the comics. We'll sit down like this with them and we'll talk with them for a while. And they'll get an experience that they wouldn't have gotten otherwise. They'll get a chance to us. Anyways, if we can throw in some material during the time that we're talking with them, we'll do it. You know, but we lead them on to things, and we just toss a few things. We sit around have a drink with them and just shoot the bull for about an hour or so, and they loved it. The people were like, I said, I came all this distance to be in this present moment.
Yeah.
And they came all this distance to be in this present moment. And why just to say, okay, nothing's going to happen, so you guys go and you guys here's some money.
Yeah,
nothing happened there.
2 of the people were on their first date. It was like a younger couple.
Really?
And they were on their first date.
And they were like excited.
We just drank with them at the bar.
Really?
Yeah.
Sometimes it happens that way, though.
I did a show once. It was a convention for doctors up in the northern Wisconsin at a lodge. And so they had been in the lodge room all for expo and teaching and stuff like that, all. And so then we came in to do our comedy thing, and you could tell they were just done.
Right.
And so nothing. I mean, I did my show, the other comic did their show, nothing. I mean, they literally, doctors, nothing. So we go over to the bar, and we're having a drink, and one of the doctors kind of shows up and goes, hey, you guys, hey, it was a long day, but you want to hear a joke? I go, yeah, I would love to hear a joke. So he started telling us a joke. Another doctor comes down, he sits down, and he goes, you tell him, oh, I know, God, I got a joke for you. And one by one, all these doctors that were sitting in that room came down, and they entertained us for an hour and a half telling their favorite jokes. It was like I said, this would be like a great one-act play. Just a play. It was just beautifully set up. I mean, by the time that thing was over, that everybody was roaring, and everybody had their moments, and they had their favorite jokes that they could tell, because all these people hadn't heard this. Like the wife always goes, I've heard his jokes before, but you're up in the middle of nowhere with people you don't hardly know, and you're telling a joke that you know how to tell. Right. And that's so important. I think when I tell people, I said, get to know like 3 really good jokes and tell them really, really well. I mean, rehearse them, give them some life,
so you have
and you will have these jokes forever, and you can always do, and people love a good joke. They just love it. And love it.
Live it. Street joke. They just love it. Like, yeah.
And down here, especially with our the demographic being older, I have found that you incorporate old jokes as best you can with it, because this is the crowd that still really likes that old school joke telling.
I think so. Yeah. I see like a lot of the hosts, they'll especially if the crowd's not on their side, they'll just tell a street joke.
Oh yeah.
And everybody responds to it usually.
It just works. I mean, I always say, if you're a comic, you always want to have some street jokes in your back pocket, because you're going to find out you're going to be in a situation where you look at the audience and they're in a different demographic than you are. Why not have those? Okay, how about just like nothing's working? They go, well, how about just some jokes? These are my favorite jokes.
Some jokes.
And boom, if you've got enough of them, you can get. Sometimes you can get them up and they're telling their jokes. I mean, a lot of things can happen if you're willing to go off script with it. I say that's just a nice little thing to have in your back pocket.
Yeah, I'm one of those comics that doesn't have any of those, and it's amazing because people will ask me the same thing, like, "Oh,
what's your best joke?"
You're a comedian telling a joke, and I'm like, I'm not gonna do my set in front of you. Like, that's a terrible idea. As one person, it's gonna be out of context and stuff. So
people don't really get that. They don't understand that you can't just do your stand-up comedy.
It's brutal.
Yeah, it is.
It's so bad.
That's everyone's first response. Oh, you're a comedian? Tell me a joke.
Mm-hmm.
You're like, no. I always say my response to that is like, are you gonna pay me? You know what I mean? Like, it's just something to get out of it.
Yeah, I tell them my next show is this. I'll give them a ding. Like, oh, all right.
Yeah. Come and see out.
But it's super weird.
You can't just do your set.
It's not some girl like, oh, I'm a stripper, and you're like, get naked.
Yeah, exactly. That's weird.
At church, It's
at church.
Yeah, my standard is they say something funny. I go, you're a good-looking guy. And I said, it's impossible to. Jake Johansson was on an airplane, and he goes, and somebody said, oh, you're a comedian. You do something. It's funny. He goes, I'm not doing it now. It was just a great line. I'm not doing it now.
I'm not doing it.
And it really is what it is. I mean, I think a lot of audiences doesn't get. People don't get that it's so much about the environment. Yeah. Right. You got to have the people, and you got to have the focus. You got to have. If you can't see us and you can't hear us, I mean, I've gone to a number of these private parties where I walk on and they can hear me okay, but the lighting is horrible.
Right.
And I go, so I always bring, like when I'm in Minnesota, and I bring my own set of lights with me,
Oh, wow.
just to have in case I need to put some wash on, you know.
Right.
So it's really it's such an important thing to be able to see what you're doing, you know.
I think so. That's what I learned just from working here is like the subtle tricks, like making sure that everybody's packed in tight, uncomfortable. You don't want them to be comfortable,
Right.
Because they won't pay attention if they're comfortable. Crank down the AC so it's nice and cold. You know what I mean? There's just like things that I learned just from throwing open mics that have made the open mics that I run way
Make
better.
sure the audience is close to the stage.
Right. And then the lighting too is like one thing I've learned is if the whole room's too lit up, the audience feels self-conscious. They feel like they can be seen too easily. Like so they're less likely to like let loose and laugh at things that they wouldn't normally laugh at. So
I found that when I'm doing a private show, I come in early before everything, and I make sure that things are set up correctly.
Yeah.
I used to walk in like 15 minutes before, and I'd look around and go, "Where am I? Oh, you see, you're behind the buffet table on that stage." I go,
Right.
"You're not going to move the buffet table?" No.
no, people can go right up to it and get chicken wings while you're doing your set.
Yeah, the bar's going to be right behind you. Yeah. Okay.
That's the worst that I've found is like when the bartender's like loud and like talking like right over like during the set.
Oh yeah.
Like they have no etiquette whatsoever, and you're like, am I getting heckled by the bartender right now? Like, what is happening?
Yeah.
You're on my side, asshole. You know what I mean? Like, trying to make you money.
Oh well, it seems to me I was thinking about the shows that I do well and the shows that I don't do well. And I've been in this business for over 30 years, and you still have nights where they're just not buying whatever it is that you've got to sell. It's just the chemistry, the whatever it is.
Whatever it is.
And I go back afterwards and really think through the bad shows. I rarely think through the good shows. The good shows, it's the bad shows that probably are better for you in a way. Because they really go, what could I have done to have engaged that audience somehow, or how could I have gotten out of my autopilot where I just kind of went into auto gear and just started doing my show because I knew they weren't really getting into it. So I just like, I'm just, basically, and I hate doing that because I love the present moment of what stand-up comedy is. It's that moment. I mean, why are people still coming to see stand-up live when they can see it on the internet? Because there's something different about live comedy than there is watching it on a 2D screen,
That's
Weird,
very true.
There's this magic spark that's happening that you don't know what's going to happen, and
It's a learning curve too for a lot of people. They need to understand the difference because now you have generations growing up that have never been to a comedy club because they're not allowed in it, but they're watching Netflix stand-up comedies and they're laughing their asses off, but they don't understand how much better it would have been to be right there. Yeah, it's crazy.
It's the variables. All the variables are the would sometimes make a really interesting. You know, the interaction with the audience, the breaking the fourth wall is important to learn how to do that. You can't. It's not a play that we're doing.
Right.
Exactly.
I always tell people it's the best first date, or even a good date.
Yeah.
Going to a live stand-up show.
Oh, for sure.
Besides the one with 3 people, but
Find out what she's laughing at.
yeah, I mean it's more like. I don't know. It's more involved than a movie. Movie, you sit quiet the whole time.
Right.
And afterwards, you go, "Oh, that was good."
Yeah, maybe you have something to talk about.
Yeah.
And you're going, she likes the blowjob jokes.
Yeah.
Yeah, exactly. She likes the dick jokes. All right.
Yeah, but I had a lot of friends come out to shows since I started for the first time, and they're like, "Bro, and they're hooked now."
Yeah.
I've had so many friends that like go see shows probably once, twice a week.
Yeah.
That I'm not even on because. It's just a good time,
Yeah.
And a lot of local clubs offer free tickets, or
that's how they get them in.
or discounted tickets.
It
could be a cheap date.
Yeah, for sure.
Yeah, I've also seen first dates go horribly wrong though at a comedy
Oh
club.
yeah, well it's usually when a drunk dude goes to heckle,
Exactly.
and gets demolished.
Somebody's getting kicked out and stuff, and
Yeah.
that's terrible.
Or you bring up something and they respond truthfully.
Yeah,
Exactly. She's the best lay you ever had. He's like, no, it was my ex, but and you're like, oh, well, you're an idiot.
Yeah, you just fucked up.
Yeah.
Yeah, I've seen that too many times. Just from working security at a club. Like I've been the reason that,
Yeah.
that like the guy isn't getting laid that night, you know what I mean? Because he's just acting like such
So
a
how
fool.
does that? I mean, how do you deal with being the bouncer? I mean, that's got to be a strange thing to do.
Well, I'm glad it's this club and not like some like in Tampa, because
Yeah.
you're dealing with a lot of older people. So I've never felt like physically threatened, except for a few times where I was like, oh, this person's crazy. But mostly you're just trying to get them out of the room without them disturbing the show. Like that's the trick. Like you gotta.
In here, you guys get verbal warnings and stuff like
We
that.
do, yeah.
In New York and stuff like that, they don't play. The first like you talking too loud, you're gone.
Yeah, they'll kick them out.
Yeah.
But the thing is, like when you do kick somebody out, it can cause a disturbance in the show, like almost more than them just talking.
Yeah.
So it's like you gotta find that weird balance. I mean, I had one time this guy stood up in the middle of the show and he starts yelling. He's like, "Yeah, you all suck. This guy's terrible." And me and the manager happened to be walking right behind him as soon as he stood up. And as soon as he stood up, we just both grabbed him around the arms, like, "All right, you're gone." He just like without him even realizing that he was getting kicked out. We're like, "Oh, we're just gonna talk to you real quick. We just want to talk to you." We got him into the hallway. Once we got him in the hallway, we're like, "Yeah, you're not going back in there." You just stood up and like yelled out, like, "You're done. You're done drinking. Like you gotta go." You know what I mean? Make him pay the tab.
There
and
are
get
some rooms that you do, especially these one-nighters, they have no policing whatsoever.
Oh no.
They basically put the show on and assume that you're going to handle any of the situations.
Right.
Generally, when I go, I find it. What's our safe word? What do we?
What's our safe word?
What do we have here so that I can let you know that
Yeah.
I want this handled, because I'm a pretty benign comic and I have a really hard time
Right.
dealing with hecklers. I can do it, but
Real drunk
boy,
heckler.
I don't want to.
No,
I
no,
just
no.
Yeah.
really
See, I go. If you want
You want
to
to
be
go at it?
if you want to be asked on my show, we'll do it.
Yeah.
I've gone back and forth for 10, 12 minutes.
really.
Yeah, because like you said, those smaller shows, one-nighters, there's nobody there. The
Yeah.
bartenders are all female. You're like the only male in the place.
Yeah. Yeah.
I mean, what are you going to do?
Yeah.
You can't let some guy destroy your show.
No, you can't.
Plus, it's just added like 10 more minutes of stuff where you don't have now. I only got 20 more minutes
Yeah.
left to go.
Sometimes you'll see the comic like he'll accidentally get too vicious. He or she will get too vicious, and they'll turn the crowd against him a little bit.
Mm-hmm.
And that's what always scared me. So I always try to like make them seem like they're the idiots that interrupted the show.
And there are also comics that intentionally try to rile so that because that's part of their act is to take care of that.
Yeah.
They want that interaction. They want that bang.
Right.
They want to do it.
It's a setup almost.
Yeah,
so
they're
it's a
set them up on purpose.
bait and switch or something.
Oh,
like
yeah.
that. Yeah.
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 I was watching Rosie O'Donnell out in L.A. a long time ago, and she came out and just reamed on some guy. It's something that had happened prior to us having sat down, but she was
Oh, wow.
not going to let whatever it was. And all she did was just, I mean, and it wasn't funny really. It was just she was just pissed at him.
Yeah. And
And I went, whoa.
You gotta make
I
an
said-
example
I
out
said,
of something.
never want to sit in the front row. I can see why people don't want to be. Either the people in the front row here at Mccurdy's are generally sat down and they go, oh, I guess we're in the front row. And and some of them are like, oh, I hope that we get involved with the show.
Most of them are. I mean, when I serve here, so you'll be seating people, and they'll go, "Oh no, we didn't buy tickets in the front row." And I'm like, nobody bought tickets here. Like this is a free show. Most of the people are for freebies. Like we're gonna put you wherever we want to put
Yeah.
you. And I have people be like, "Oh no, we're not gonna sit here." And one of my favorite lines that another server told me, he goes, just say this. He goes, next time they say that, go, "Hey, don't worry, this isn't SeaWorld. You're not in the splash zone." Just sit them down. And most of the time,
That's
like,
good.
like it's rare that we do have a comic that does a lot of crowd work. That's like going to people all the time. And like I'll let them know. I'm not a dick. I'll like if they really are uncomfortable sitting up front. I'll be like, well, yeah, this comic does kind of go to the front row a lot. So if you're not prepared for that, maybe don't sit here.
I didn't know. That sounded.
You can get on this mic if you want.
Yeah, but I think probably a good time to be moving towards that door.
That was weird.
Yeah.
Because you hear music play.
I heard, yeah. I heard
Yeah,
music
for the
play.
listeners, Vinny just ducked underneath 3 mics and tried to army crawl to the stage because he thought his time was going on.
I thought he said your next comic coming up. Then I heard like woo. I was like, oh.
It's probably one of the scariest things for us backstage is to be sitting here talking and suddenly you
Yep.
hear the music and go, oh,
yeah.
I'm walking on stage now.
Oh,
Yeah,
shit.
I never done a live podcast while
Yeah.
the show's going. So
Yeah.
I mean, because normally at this point we're kind of like starting to move into our
Yeah,
zone.
checking the time.
Yeah.
Waiting is really one of the hardest things about stand-up comedy. The waiting to go on. Sometimes that
You can open the door.
that can
so you
just
can hear.
drive you crazy. The waiting.
The waiting, yeah. You just
Yeah.
want to get started.
Yeah.
I find that we're
There
like.
he goes.
All right, see you guys.
All right.
All right.
Go get him, Vinny. Yeah, I've had
Break a funny bone.
people always think that I'm like not nervous before a show because I'm like yawning. But for some reason, I get exhausted. Like while I'm waiting to do my set, I'm like yawning and I'm just sitting there like kind of staring off in the distance. And people are always like, "Oh, he's like the Iceman, like he's not." And I'm like, "No, I'm super nervous. Like it's taking a lot out of me. Actually, that's how much like I'm just exhausted for whatever reason."
I know
I'm
it's
tired.
when I get home, I realize. I mean, I didn't feel like I did that much on stage, but I'm like, man, there's some kind of a weird workout that I
Yeah.
just did. It was, how are they?
They're great.
Good.
They are. And of course I kept it on the cleaner side because it's you.
Yeah.
Right.
You know, and of course, before that, you had Pauly Shore and let's
Yeah,
see
I
what-
know.
You know,
I was getting ready to. I saw the trailer for the first time last night, and I went, yeah, we might want to find another one.
Oh yeah, because
Well, you could have two, and depending on who the headliner is. If it's the headliner, somebody cusses a lot and stuff, then you can throw that one in.
right.
You know, but yeah,
I should.
yeah, pussy's a little rough.
Yeah. I'm trying to do like a PG-13 show, and in the trailers, right, you show the comics coming up, and it's all F-bombs. I go, well, that's pretty much the end of that. So,
Sums it up, yeah.
yeah.
That won't be me.
It was funny. You had the music cue that went on in your show, and was it Danny? Is his name?
Vinny.
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 Yeah.
Oh,
He was like-
Bolton.
Yeah, he tried. He was like, it was funny. He like,
That's nice. Have you ever? Have you? And I'm sure I probably asked you this before. Have you ever, just for the hell of it, gone? I'm gonna cuss a lot tonight. I mean, I'm just gonna do my show, but I'm gonna cuss.
Oh yeah, I did one at that stupid. That was it, Ball Busters or Gut Busters or whatever. It's that thing that's that. What's his face? Yeti tries to put on out in some little. I mean, it was.
oh, I don't know.
I just said.
I know who you're
Oh,
talking
just
about.
recently. Oh,
Oh yeah.
had you ever done that before?
Long time ago. But I should. But tonight I'm gonna. I just went whatever. I just did whatever I felt like. I became Bob Saget on stage. Let's put it
Yeah.
that way. I'm gonna shut.
Oh no, we leave it open. Yeah. Yeah, we like the sound of it coming in.
Little laughter in the background.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, it's the ambience.
But that's interesting in that last week, none of the comics, nobody here would have stepped up to shut the door. But
No.
that was a natural thing for you to do. You know, to go, oh, that's interrupting the conversation. You know what I mean, kind of a thing. Where we like that part of it is that ambient sound that people listening. And I don't remember. Now you listened to our first one just
Yeah.
recently. How much of that actually did you hear?
You can't understand most of it, but when nobody's talking or when maybe one person's talking, you can definitely hear it in the background.
Yeah,
But
you can just hear that there's a. It's kind
There's a
of
show.
like a Charlie Brown. It's kind of like a wop wop.
yeah, it's almost like if you were at a concert and you were in like the quieter part of the hall,
Right.
and you can kind of hear like you know there's a show going on.
Yes,
basically. Yeah.
but you can't hear anything specific, which to our ear we can't. But the mics don't pick that up so
Not too
much.
much,
You
no.
know.
Do we know anything about this audience tonight? Is there birthdays? Did you do anything like that?
I did do some birthdays.
Yeah.
I had
Any anniversaries? Do you know?
no anniversaries. I did. Well, there may be some out there because there was a lot of reaction to
birthdays.
and anniversaries because there's so much. That's so
And
much
you can
of our
only do
crowd.
so many of them. Right?
Yeah, and I think I did maybe 4 or 5.
That's plenty.
And
yeah.
so there's more out there. There was a guy. There was 2, Trina and Wolfie, and they were sitting. It was like you could tell the people that yelled out. I said, "Do you know each other?" And Trina, I was talking. She goes, "Yeah, we know each other." And then Wolfie goes, I've been on your stage," it's always the comedy class, and you always know that. But they
Yeah.
never say, I took your class.
No.
Almost never. They always say, I performed on your stage, kind of a thing. And it was like, and he goes, your memory's going. And I said, no, you're not that memorable. And the crowd was like, oh.
Burn.
And I said, look, Wolfie. I said, I've had over 4,000 students, bro. No, I'm not going to remember Wolfie. You know, no, I don't. I mean, you had to do something pretty bizarre. You know.
And probably back then he was cubby. You know, he probably wasn't even a Wolfie at that point. You know. So,
But
yeah, that's funny.
yeah. So
You got him good.
exactly. But
Well,
you
that's
know,
good.
but,
Yeah,
but it's funny because the crowd, you know, they people come up to me all the time that have taken the class and just assume. Oh, not only that, people you just talk to in the audience. Hey, you know, they'll come down the streets. Hey, my name's Marge. You know, I was in your show that time. You know.
And you'll just assume that you'll know. Or
Of
remember.
course.
Yeah.
Why would I not remember Marge
Yeah.
in my show?
That's right.
Because that was
Remember?
the night that it was magic.
Yeah.
You know?
Right.
Nothing you said you could have ever said before. You know.
That's like when I first started doing the open mics here, people like comics would come up to me like, is Les watching? Is Les here? And I was like, no. it's very rare he sticks around, man. Like he's got better things to do than watch open micers. You know what I mean?
Not much.
Yeah.
Not
It's
much.
funny how hecklers always think that they're helping. You know,
Oh,
they
yeah.
just.
I'm
I remember
funny.
this one guy said, "Oh man, he was just the worst." It was, you know, those hecklers are just annoying, like a gnat that you can keep swatting at throughout the show, and it was one of those places that didn't have good policing. We talked about that while you were on stage, but it was like then he comes up, he goes, "Where are you going to be next week? Because I'll come and help you out again." And I go, I'm in Coon Rapids. I'm not going to be in Coon Rapids, but you know, that's okay. Yeah, I'll be there.
Yeah.
There was some lady. I remember it was Grand Rapids, Michigan, and she was one of those hecklers that was like really, really drunk. And afterwards, the guy he's taking her out, you know, and she's got to go to the bathroom, so he doesn't know what to do with her, so he takes her and leans her up against the wall with her forehead against the wall. She's just standing there. He goes into the bathroom, and comes back and takes her off the wall. So, and that's the woman that was making noise all night.
Yeah. Exactly.
You know.
So funny.
It is, and it just well, we say it, you know, heckling. We have that in our opening statements. We don't want it, you know. But
You ever
I
thought
mean,
about
it's
having-
old school. It was old school.
You ever thought about having playbills? Like little things where people open up and they read about the comic a little bit and what's coming up, and those little like a theater almost.
Well,
We have
we have
pamphlets
our
and stuff.
flyers that
Yeah.
that promote the next 4 weeks that do that.
Is it on the table?
No, it's at the front door, so
okay.
they can pick them up. You get too much shit on the table.
Oh,
We
yeah.
used to put everything out there, and if it was paper, it'd just get trashed.
Yeah.
People would put their drinks on it, and and so it would just get trashed. You would actually, and that's the thing about if you were.
more like one of those plastic things.
But
that
I'm gonna tell you, if you handed them out like you did at a play, unlike at a play, they're sitting at a table and they're getting ready to get drinks and food. So that playbill, even if they look at it, is going to get thrown on the table and they're going to set their drink on it.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? So it's just going to end up trashed. So I would rather do that digitally, or they could read it coming in, or have something that's up on a screen when they walk in that goes, here's what's going on tonight.
You do that anyway, don't you?
I do.
Yeah, you've got the things that are coming up.
Yeah.
That's a lot cheaper.
Well, it just gets the paper just turns to trash.
I noticed you don't have popcorn anymore.
No.
Thank God.
Pam said, and we had popcorn for 14 years
Yeah.
at the other location, and that was one of our biggest. To this day, people still come up and go, I really miss the popcorn. And Pam said, when we moved from the North Trail, which is a funky area of Sarasota, to downtown, the ritzy area, she goes, the carnival food stayed behind. But you know why we don't have popcorn? I tell everybody this. You can't hit your fucking mouth.
Yeah.
I go, you could not believe how much popcorn it took us at least 10 minutes longer to turn a house because of cleaning up nothing but popcorn.
Yep.
We had to bring in big those
industrial vacuums.
not vacuum cleaners, those shop vacs.
Oh yeah.
A vacuum cleaner wouldn't do it. We had to bring and the big ones just to clean up popcorn, and then it trashes the carpet
Yep.
because the oils and
grease.
stuff get into the carpet. And we would sit there and go, these are grown up people, and you're not talking about underneath a table 10 kernels. You're talking about they put one in their mouth and they took the next handful and threw it on the floor. And I mean, that's the way it was.
Well then, how about the salted peanuts in the shell? That would be better, wouldn't it?
Yeah, right.
Yeah, exactly.
We used to have a bar that we'd go down. It was called Williams Pub. And you go down to the basement. They had the little things of peanuts. I mean, you could, and you could take one of those things. They had a whole back area with pinball machine, just pinball. And so you could take that thing with a beer. And I had one machine that I knew how to win. And I could sit there for like a quarter, maybe 2 quarters, and play all night long with a beer, maybe 2 beers, and just eat nothing but peanuts. You know, it was like it was like I was in bliss.
And could you throw the shells
Yep,
on the floor?
on the floor. Yep,
Yeah,
absolutely.
I love those kind of places. There's I still one of my most fun, and I know I've told this to you, fun daughter-daddy stories was Taylor was 3, and maybe even between 2 and 3, you know. But she was walking, talking, you know, and I took her to spring training at Ed Smith Stadium. I think back then we had the Chicago White Sox, I think it was. Okay. And so first time we go in and we sit down in the bleachers, and here comes the concession guy, you know. And she's like, who's that? I said, he brings treats. She goes, he just brings them? I go, yeah. She goes, can we get something? I go, yeah. So we got a couple of sodas, and we got a bag of peanuts. So she takes a peanut out, and she cracks it, gets her peanut, and she's got the shell in her hand. And she goes, Daddy, where do I put that? And I go, throw it on the ground. She looked at me like, what? I said, just throw it on the ground. And she was like, she couldn't open them fast enough just to throw the shells on the ground. And I said, you know what else you can do here, Taylor, at the baseball game? I said, the pitcher is for the other team. I said, you can stand up and scream as loud as you can. You're terrible. You don't know how to play baseball. And, of course, all the people around us started encouraging her, right? And Taylor was the type, you know, she just, here she goes, you know. And she sat down and she looked at me at some point and she goes, don't tell Mom. Do not tell Mom. I'm almost positive Mom will not let us come back here.
Have you ever done that on stage? You ever done that story?
You know, I haven't, and it's a good little story.
It's a good little story.
Uh-huh. You know.
Especially when you got a kid now coming up, you know, and it'll be soon that Satan.
Yes.
Zayden will be eligible to go.
I had Zayden today.
Take Zayden to the ball game.
Had him for a
and you
couple
can do
hours
that whole
today.
story all over again.
Today I had him in, it's my grandson, and he just hit 3 months. And so today I had him, and he would just sit in my lap. He likes to sit up. He's big enough now he likes to sit up in your lap.
Right,
you know,
right.
and we're watching basketball. And I'm talking to him the way I'd talk to you. God, I can't believe it.
Yeah.
And so at some point I go, usually whenever he does something in his diaper, he lets you know immediately. Like, he's like a little old man. It's like once he won't sit and piss for 10 minutes. So you never have to worry about this kid getting a diaper rash.
Right.
As soon as something happens, he's like, you know, and now they have diapers. There's a little line, and it's yellow. When the line turns blue, they're wet.
Oh.
So you don't have to guess.
Right.
So, you know,
You don't have to reach in and smell.
No.
Do the old reach in and
Remember,
smell.
you had to reach in and feel,
Yeah,
you
okay.
know.
Yeah,
and that's
yeah,
what you had to do. Then there'd be poop. You'd be like, oh, God. You know. So we were sitting there, and all of a sudden I was like, oh. He wasn't being fussy. I go, you got a poop diaper. You know what I mean? I know, everybody's got a poop diaper. When we go in, he doesn't. He doesn't. This little bastard farts like an old man. I mean, he farts like, I'm like, holy crap, man. Yeah, I mean, I never knew a baby that farted in a
Raunchy.
way that was like, well, you just shit yourself, you know. And,
Does he do the fart and smile bit? Because that's just like I'm pretty proud of that one.
I haven't seen him do that yet, but I'm sure that's coming.
So when do kids stop being? It's like you're 3 months, right? So when do we stop saying months? When we start moving into years, when does that happen? What do you think?
After 2.
After 2, basically.
Yep, after 2.
So 11 months. And then
16
suddenly-
months,
and not-
18 months.
2 is.
As a matter of fact, clothes and the way doctors will say you do this at this point, they use months. Actually, I'll see things at 24 months. Now, there's stuff that you'll see clothes that will say 36 months. So there's even in some cases they'll use it up to 3 years.
I'm glad that we just changed it to years because I would hate to say, yeah, I just turned 660 months today.
I love it when I had a lady in the audience last night that said, I was talking, I think it was a how long thing, married, and it was 14 and a half years. And I went, there's a gender thing. You will never in your life have a man answer you with a half year on an anniversary or marriage. They'll
Right.
never.
No,
But a
because basically
lady
they
will
have,
hit you.
but because they always go to the
Yeah, of course.
14 is.
But
that's what I
how
was gonna
much,
say.
to me, that's how much more important the relationship is to the woman than it is to the man in
Yeah.
some cases. How long you been married? Wow. Woman, 14 years and 8 months.
And the worst response.
Tomorrow.
And the worst response. Too long.
Oh, yeah, of course.
That's the
of course.
classic.
Long enough.
Yeah.
You know, oh, yeah, thanks a lot for that. You know what I mean? Those marriages that just get to the point where it's just a mutual roommate,
Right.
you know.
I'm going to start doing my move around
Sure.
here.
It's like,
so-
why are you still married? You go, well, tax reasons, obviously. No, there's tax reasons, and we don't have sex anymore, and we don't want to have sex with other people either.
Yeah. I don't want to be a bother.
Yeah. No, I like, we know how to coexist,
Right.
and that's what we do.
I'm going to have you put one of these wacky glasses in your hat.
Oh, yeah, okay.
Okay, so that'll be at the right. Let me switch that around. So. You know, it's really sad about these things. It's like I could not find these things for years.
I remember I was going to ask you about that because I knew you were having trouble.
You know where you can find these now? Walmart at the kids' party gifts.
Oh.
And that's where I found it. And then Halloween had a bunch of really cool ones too that had the veins and the.
And then you were able to contact the manufacturer?
No, I still can't find them anywhere.
Oh,
I
really?
can just get lucky and I go to some Walmarts and there they are. In fact, I was on an elevator. I don't know if you can hear me.
Yeah.
So in an elevator today, as I was coming down from the, and some lady, I said, "Oh, well, I'm your comedian tonight," and she goes like this, and she takes a pair of my glasses
Oh,
and puts them on,
nice.
because I said, "My stalker." And you bought those when you were at the other club.
Oh, wow. So that's at least 5 years ago.
At least.
At least 5. Yeah.
So, but
But isn't it so weird that you cannot find the manufacturer of this goofy, weird little
I tried.
kids'
I
goofy
spent
glasses?
literally hours on the.
Well, and John DeCross has a set. He has a pair of glasses that look like that look like big nerd glasses, and they've got the magnified eye lenses in them.
Oh yeah, like
You
yeah.
remember those?
Oh, yeah.
And that's what he has. But he ran into the same thing. He goes, I used to sell them, but he goes, I can't find them. And every once in a while I'll run across them, but they're just. But you would think, why would you be if you're making these, unless they've got an exclusive with Walmart and they can't sell to anybody else. And that is the case with some products, but I can't imagine that Walmart would take this and go, well,
Yeah.
this is ours.
Here's the
No, nobody else.
Don't mess with our
I
pet.
go to Walmart.com to find them, and I can't find them there either. So I don't know what the deal is with them, but
You need to hook up with a buyer that works for Walmart somehow and bribe them. I'll give you $100. Tell me where you get these sons of bitches. I swear to God.
Well, my friend said, you should just find some place that will make them for you.
Yeah,
And I go,
maybe.
I don't want to do that. We're talking thousands of dollars.
Yeah, that's money.
No idea.
Yeah.
But they're so much fun that people love these things because they're just goofy. And it's a
Yeah.
great souvenir. People love it. They want a souvenir sometimes. Or they want a reason to come up and say hi to you.
Yeah.
After the show.
Or they want, and I think this is true in our market. They respect the artists. People sell well here. Everybody says they sell as well here as they do anywhere in the country. And I think our crowds it's a way for them to tip you.
Mhm.
It is. It's a way to come up and say, "Great show," and give you $10. You know what I mean? And go, "Yeah, I'll take whatever you got there." And
There was a magician guy that just held out a hat and the people gave him money here.
Philly Plowden just has a tip bucket, and he asked me. He said, "Do you mind if I do that?" And I said, "I don't care. If you want to do it, you know." He goes, "A lot of clubs don't like it. They think it's cheesy and this, that, and the other." I go, "I don't think there's anything. You're a service worker that's providing a service,
Right.
and you're not making a shit ton of money.
Right.
You know what I mean? So instead of having some little thing, you just have a tip bucket up there." And I said, "Does anybody tip you?" He goes, "Yeah."
Yeah.
He goes, "I'll usually make, at least $40-50 a show."
Yeah.
And he goes, "Over 7 shows, that's nice.
Yeah, that's nice.
That helps." And
Well, Devin Siebold, he sells like those shot glasses for the teachers.
yeah.
Like it's an apple a day or something. There's something clever on it. But he makes a shit ton of money off those just by selling the shot glasses for $5 each. Like people go crazy, and they'll buy one for themselves. They'll buy one to give another person. You know what I mean? It's pretty smart.
Absolutely.
Well, I had a feature act. Can you hear me or not? Or just
Yeah, I got you.
a feature act in Overland Park, Stanford and Sons. After the show, I've got my little wacky glasses and my CDs. Not selling anything. All he's got is a T-shirt that says "fuck you," and on the back it says "no, really." And he sold them like
hotcakes.
yeah. I mean, it was like he couldn't. And he wasn't even that. He was okay feature, but that was his thing. And no one was coming to get the little wacky glasses. They all wanted that.
Yeah, I bet.
Because where are you gonna find that? Well, Spencer's has got them now. You know,
No,
it's
of
like,
course.
you know, that became like almost an adult-rated
Shirt. Yeah.
show or store.
Store,
Go
yeah,
in there.
Spencer's.
Used to be in Spencer's. That stuff was way in the back.
Right.
Now when
right.
you walk in, it's right in the
Just
front.
took over the store.
Yeah, really
that's
did.
what- Yeah, you don't want to go to the back of Spencer's now. Now it gets
I'll
crazy
go
back
back
there.
to Spencer's.
No.
I'll go back there.
In the back?
Yeah, man.
Yeah.
Where the good shit is.
Alright. Show continues. Vinny's just getting off right now.
So how did that go for you? Like when you just came in from this to go right into that?
It was cool. It's cool.
It didn't mess up your groove or anything?
Nah.
First
I'm
sneeze of
back.
the podcast, baby.
Yeah.
I get one out.
So how long are these things gonna be? Hour and a half?
We just keep going, yeah. We're gonna try to condense it down, like to chop it down. I don't think anyone's gonna listen to 2 hours of this, but try to get down like.
Unless you're Joe Rogan.
Yeah, exactly.
Once we get on Joe Rogan's level, then
Yeah.
they'll listen for 2 hours.
4 hours, yeah, it's ridiculous.
Yeah, my buddy sent me a podcast a couple days ago. It's 2 hours and 45 minutes.
Joe Rogan.
Yeah.
His podcasts are where you can almost stop where you're listening, and then 3 hours, 3 days later, come back to it and just kind of like maybe rewind it a couple seconds, and you'll pick off right where it's almost like a book
Yeah.
on tape. It's really weird how he does it.
But it's crazy. It was like a 3-hour podcast. My boy's like, yeah, I listened to it like 4 times already.
Yeah.
I'm like, that's insane.
It's crazy.
I can't even watch a movie if I'm into the movie, hour and a half is like all I got.
Really?
Maybe hour 45.
Yeah, some of those movies getting too long.
Like
now.
Star Wars, I never got in that Star Wars binge.
Godfather?
Star Wars.
No.
I've seen like half of Godfather like 15 times.
Right.
But Star Wars, no, I can't. I've seen a few of them, but they're 2.5, 3 hours long.
Mm-hmm.
I can never get
Are
it.
they really?
Bro,
I
they're
remember-
long.
Yeah.
Star Wars are long.
I remember Avatar was like 3 hours, and I was like,
I did.
that long?
that seems a bit excessive. Yeah.
Yeah, I didn't remember it being that long. What was Gone with the Wind? Gone with the Wind, actually, when it was in the movie theaters, had an intermission.
Really?
Really?
Yes.
Damn.
I read that book. We had to read that book in like. Did you have to read that book?
No.
I had to read that book in like 8th grade or something.
I had to read
to like
like
pass.
I had to read like Of Mouse and
English.
Men and stuff like that.
Mouse and Men, yeah. But
Yeah.
Gone with the Wind, we had to read.
No, I never read Gone.
I didn't know that was a movie. So it was a movie first, then the book?
No, it's book first.
Book
Okay.
first. Yeah,
It's always
book
book first, right?
Always
of the
book
time.
first. Yeah,
Yeah.
generally.
Yeah.
Generally.
Yeah, it's kind of weird to write a book after a movie.
Yeah. And there's no way to get all the book into the movie.
No.
You can, there's just
Yeah.
no way, you know. But I don't think, I don't remember Gone with the Wind ever being required reading for my age group because everybody had seen the movie. I mean, it was
See?
just
Really?
such an iconic
Yeah.
movie back then.
Right.
I mean, I saw it at the movie theater when I was, I
Yeah.
don't know, 10 or something like that. I don't know what year. it
Well, in
came out.
Hillsborough County, you can't graduate 8th grade unless you
Yeah.
read that and pass the test on it.
Yeah.
I did the same book report on Animal Farm sophomore, junior, and senior year in high school. Same book.
You had different teachers?
Animal Farm?
Yes, and nobody caught me on it.
That's awesome. See, for us,
And 1984. I think I did Animal Farm in 1984.
for us, it started. There was SparkNotes.com, which you can basically Google whatever in there, or search engine whatever in SparkNotes, and it would give you.
Oh, like if you were copywriting somebody else's thing, or
Yeah, like SparkNotes was just basically you could search "Gone with the Wind" and it will give you a brief description of the entire book. It'll tell you what to write about,
Right,
main
right.
characters, so you can bullcrap a whole report.
When I was in college, they had a thing called Cliff Notes.
Cliff Notes, yep.
And that was the same thing. It was the abbreviate. So nobody read the book.
Right.
But then the teachers got sharp to that.
Yeah.
So they would read the Cliff Notes and make sure that
Ask something out
you
of
had
that.
to have answers
Yeah.
outside of the Cliff Notes.
Yeah, see,
Well,
that's the thing. SparkNotes was working for like 2 years, and then teachers caught on,
Yeah.
and they would ask you something outside of that. Like,
You
what was
got
the
real
dog's
trouble.
name? And you're like,
Plagiarism was no joke to teachers.
yeah.
I remember one of the biggest compliments I ever got. It didn't start off as a compliment. I did a book report on The Hobbit when I was in 7th grade,
Oh, yeah.
and I remember turning it in, and the teacher was like, "You're doing a book report on The Hobbit? Like you're 7th grade?" Like it was just like she was surprised, a little bit more of advanced reading level. It was also a really boring fucking book, by the way. But I did. I wrote it all myself, and she withheld my paper for 2 weeks while she tried to research and see where I stole it from.
Ah.
That's how good it was. She was like, "I don't believe
Nice.
you. There's no way you fucking wrote this." And I was like, me and my mom were being like in meetings. My mom was like, "I swear I watched him fucking write this thing." And she's like, "There's no way. I'm sorry, but I know you think your kids, God,
Yeah.
no, there's no way he wrote this." And I was like, I'm like
Wrote
crying.
it.
I'm like, I fucking wrote it, man.
Yeah.
Like I watched I know how this book works. Like it was.
Nice.
I was like, oh, thanks for the compliment.
That was one of the first. I didn't start reading. I never was a reader in high school.
No, me neither.
No, I mean, I hated to read. I just hated to sit still that long.
Yep.
But when I got in college, I got where I could focus a little bit. Well, I was smoking pot. And,
exactly.
you know, but I remember reading The Hobbit and the trilogy. It was
Right.
one of the
Yeah.
first series I'd
Yeah.
ever plowed through. But I really enjoyed them. You know, to me, that was like reading Harry Potter now.
Yeah, it was
if you got
fictional.
into it.
Yep.
You know, that fiction, and I love those characters, and I love the fact that finally they made the movies that
A good
that
movie.
did justice to the
Peter
books.
Jackson, directed.
Yeah,
it,
he finally,
so-
because they tried a few and they just sucked.
No,
and,
yeah.
and you know, another series of books that, if you've never read them, are Edgar Rice Burroughs' Tarzans. And if you've never read
Oh,
the books, Tarzan is a motherfucking, like he's like, he does all kinds of shit.
Really?
Yes,
The Adventures of Tarzan.
Yes, the Adventures. He's not just some guy that lives in the jungle.
Right.
You know, I mean, like in the Tarzan book.
He's just not some guy who lives in the jungle.
No,
That's
it's
some
like
homeless
he
dude.
starts there.
Like he knows them.
He starts in the jungle, and then of course he meets Jane, and
Right.
through Jane, he becomes civilized, and then Jane leaves. She goes back to
Really?
America, right? She's
Or England, yeah.
well, she's British. Yeah, she was British. I think she was American, but she had a British family or something like that.
Yeah.
And so she goes back home. And so so at that point Tarzan hooks up with this guy who I think is British or French, maybe French. And he's just a guy who, makes his money by being in the jungle. In different
Safaris
ways.
and stuff
Safaris,
like that.
Killing out, whatever.
Yeah.
Kind of things. So Tarzan hooks up with him and they become great friends. So they started making huge money going into these encampments that they had for wealthy men to come down on safaris and kill trophy animals, right?
Right.
So the guy would go in because he was one of those guys,
Right.
and Tarzan would come in, and Tarzan would totally, even though at this point Tarzan could speak English fluently and I think French too. He could speak 2 languages.
Oh, wow.
Because his guy was French, so he could speak 2 languages. But he would play the ape man, role.
Right.
Oh no! I think I'm wrong on that. It's been a while since. I think it may be that he does come in and he's he can sit down and just have a conversation. And he would go, I'll bet everybody in here $1,000 that my man can leave here barefooted in his underwear with a knife and come back with the head of a lion.
Jesus. Yeah.
In this many hours. And of course, here he goes, and they come out with these outrageous things the bets, and they started making a bunch of money winning these bets, him going and doing these things that he could do. And so they made all this money, and then the movie, the last Tarzan movie where he's in London and he's staying, he's with royalty and all that kind of stuff. I think was the last movie. That's closer to the real Tarzan.
Oh, okay.
You know what I mean? He did go to look for Jane. The French guy brought him back to civilization to experience it, and he wanted to find Jane.
Right.
And so he experienced going to bigger cities, London, and then he found out in one of the books that Jane was in America. So he comes to America, and she is in Minnesota.
Of all places.
In the summertime, her family had this big estate up in Minnesota, and that's where she was. Well, he's going there driving a sports car. It's Tarzan. These are Edgar Rice Burroughs.
What the hell?
Tarzan's. He's driving a sports car to get to her, right? And there's a forest fire that's engulfing the whole area, and like could it's like it could catch their estate on fire and da.
Yeah.
And they're at a point where they're kind of trapped in the flames. Well, guess who comes through the fucking flames?
Fucking Tarzan.
Tarzan. That's how Tarzan.
But that movie would be so much better.
Yeah.
That's how he hooks back up with Jane. He saves her life in a forest fire in Minnesota. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And and it's like then they hook back up, and then they're together for a while, and then for some reason they split up again.
Of course, yeah.
And then at that point he's back over in Europe, and somehow I don't remember one of the books he ends up in the Middle East.
Really? Mm-hmm. It's like the
In
Adventures
the middle
of
fucking
Tarzan.
East.
It's like
And he's
superheroes
almost
guy.
like
Yeah, it's like
I
Spider-Man.
think it's during World War II.
Yeah.
And he's almost like a secret agent
Yeah.
kind of thing.
It's like 007 with Tarzan.
I'm telling
Yeah.
you, man.
Then 50 Shades of Grey with
the
Tarzan.
real Tarzan books are all of that, and then eventually I think there's 9 or 10 of the books, and then eventually,
Really? 9 or 10?
I want to
Shit.
say there's 9 of them.
Damn.
Let me look it up. And eventually, Jane ends up going back to the jungle with him, and they make a life there.
They're like, enough of this
which
shit.
which is what the movies that
Yeah.
Yeah, but
the
you only
old
see the
movies and stuff
jungle, yeah.
depict just
They
that.
shorten it up. They have to, right? I guess.
I don't think they ever
Why don't you just...
saw it as marketable. Obviously, nobody has seen it as marketable to really do the books as they are, because nobody's done it. Nobody's.
I mean, you got me. I'll buy a ticket. The way you explain those books.
I mean, I thought I wish I had the
Tarzan, like an Audi R8.
Yeah.
I know.
Driving in
He's a
Minnesota.
I know.
Superhero. Yeah.
Nobody believe it. Everybody be like, "Well, this is fucking bullshit."
Or at a bar, and they're like, "Yo, get him down in no shoes." He's
Go
gonna come
find
back
a
with a
lion.
lion head. It's like 2 hours later.
It's cruelty against lions, though. It gets protested.
Let's see if it comes up here.
Yeah.
Let's see.
I remember that, though. I remember just trying to argue with my teacher, being like, I wrote this fucking thing. I couldn't believe it.
Yeah,
man.
see, I spark notes everything.
Yeah.
Or I copied someone.
I never. Those kind of projects were always easy for me. It was more like the science and math stuff that I always struggle with. 'Cause most of the time, like my science teacher was like showing like videos half the time. There was never really any
Yeah.
learning going on. It was just like,
Yeah,
Bill
yeah.
Nye the Science Guy. Here we
Yeah,
go again.
Bill.
Yeah.
Bill Nye, yeah.
That's stupid.
When Bill Nye was on, you know it's gonna be an easy day.
Yeah, you're like the teacher's got a hangover. All right, he doesn't
That's
want
the
to
thing.
teach. Yeah,
Like for the most part, my science teachers seem younger.
yeah.
They must have always been hungover because I always I think I watched more Bill Nye in school than.
Yeah, that's terrible.
I don't think it was on the agenda to play Bill Nye twice a week.
That's why I could never.
But then when you got to high school and you need to know all the science stuff, you're like,
Can't recall it.
yeah, because it's just Bill Nye.
That was the weird thing about Florida education is like it was almost like if you were smarter, they would educate you more.
Yeah.
Like you got access to better teachers. If you were part of the dumb kids, like you just got stuck with like the teachers,
Yeah,
like
and then when-
also teaching softball or also like
yeah,
coaching
yeah,
softball
yeah,
or some
PE
shit.
teacher and
Yeah. Yeah, he's like literally reading from the book and learning and teaching at the same time.
Yeah,
he's,
yeah.
like, oh, I didn't know that either. Oh shit. Like,
Yeah, I remember we had,
God.
I think it was like 8th grade, we had a substitute teacher that we saw more than like our
yes.
real teacher.
I've had a couple of those ones. Yeah.
I'm like, is this our teacher now?
Yeah.
Like, what-
It's like no, not your teacher.
It's like if it's your parents, is this my dad?
Is this I gotta find answers from this guy. That's gotta be weird being a substitute teacher because it's like,
Teachers, well, for me, teachers already get paid crap. They
Oh,
should
yeah.
get paid a lot more. So, if you want to be a substitute teacher,
yeah,
I don't even want to know what they make.
no, I don't even want
To
know.
deal with craphead kids.
That hate you for whatever reason.
Oh, when a substitute came in, oh man, it was miserable. There was never once where a substitute teacher came in, we're like, we're gonna give this guy a break.
No,
Even like the good kids acted up.
unless it was a black woman.
Oh
At my
yeah,
school?
the hood,
Yeah,
like with
if,
a little bit of attitude.
Even if she wasn't hood, she would just be able to command that class, and you just didn't want to fuck with her because you knew she
Oh, no,
potentially would
yeah.
whoop your ass. Like,
Yeah.
she would snap on you.
She'll come in writing right away.
Here, the complete set of Tarzan series paperback books by Edgar Rice Burroughs there were 24.
Oh my, you were off by 9.
24.
I
You got a lot more reading to do.
I know.
24 books. That's crazy.
Let's see if
I want those movies to drop.
They just had a Tarzan. It was like a
Yeah,
live
but not
action.
like hit like what he's
no,
saying.
no, it's still in the jungle and everything.
That was like some Jeopardy knowledge
those who recognize
I know, right?
the original Tarzan as a literary creation by Edgar Rice Burroughs understand that the exploits of Tarzan are best explored through the magic of printed word. Readers can experience the journey that lasts through 24 books and wanders not only into the jungle depths but further down through the earth's crust, savage prehistoric, basically there's just tons of adventures that Tarzan went on,
Right.
through all these different books. And I mean, I was like, it's like Hollywood's looking for these series things,
Yeah.
like the Avengers that you can just keep doing. And Tarzan, is one of those things where you can create him in that way.
Yeah.
Where you go, here's a guy that he is that half man, half beast, and he is that. He keeps that about him. So
Right.
he's a bit of a superhero.
That's what it seems
uber
like.
athlete.
Right.
He's an uber athlete that has these instincts and everything, but yet by leaving the jungle the way he does, he going up through Europe, you could have him speaking 5 or 6 different languages, going into these
Yeah.
different cultures, and every culture is another, you know, episode is some other
He's a
wild
hero of
ass
some
thing
type,
that
yeah.
he does, and he's gonna be the hero of all of them because nobody kicked this fucker's ass.
Yeah.
I mean,
Right.
he's the baddest ass son of a bitch anywhere there.
He was raised by apes, though. Like that's the thing, right?
Right.
He was raised by.
Raised by
No, but
apes.
honestly, those I never knew that.
So he can
hits
literally
his-
fight a gorilla
Right.
and not be killed.
I'm just amazed that he.
Like imagine Tarzan in New York
Yeah.
Yes.
walking Times Square.
Yes.
Yeah.
Tarzan New York, Tarzan in London, Tarzan in
Yeah.
Paris, Tarzan in wherever.
Right.
You know, Tarzan involved. I mean, and that's what these different stories were. You know, it's like there's a few books. There's another one like that. Not as long a series or anything, but there's a book out there called The Frontiersman. And when I was in college, we did these summer stock outdoor dramas, and
Right.
they're pageant plays, but they're usually wrapped around Daniel Boone, you know,
Oh, right.
you know, that kind of a thing
Yeah.
in our history. So I was playing this character that was Daniel Boone's enemy, and he was a real guy. So of course I did all the research to find out who this guy was, and I found this book called The Frontiersman, and it was actual accounts as far as it was based on truth.
Based on truth, right?
That Daniel Boone was actually not a big guy. Daniel Boone was about my size.
Okay.
But he was a badass.
But back then, a lot of people were shorter, right?
Yeah. 6 foot was huge.
Yeah, it was a
You
giant.
know, average man was probably 5'5" ish.
Yeah, about that. Yeah.
You know,
Why is it what? I don't
the,
understand that.
Nutrition,
yeah.
nutrition mainly. You
People
know,
were eating like bread and
yeah,
like
we just
sausage.
you know, as a culture, we just eat better and genetically improve ourselves. It's evolution.
yeah.
Yes, and then that's why people live longer. And all-
Yes, all that
Most
kind
of the part,
stuff.
yeah.
Yeah.
But yeah, because I mean, oh god, you go to a house that's 200 years old and look at the furniture. I mean, when you go through castles in Europe, all the beds are like
Yeah,
they're
little-
small.
Like a twin. Yeah.
Yeah, they're small
wee
because
people.
yeah,
Yeah.
they're short. Yeah,
Yeah.
because they just weren't that tall. But so Boone was small, but there was a guy, and I can't remember his name now, but there was a guy that was a Boone character. He was a giant for that. He was like 6'3",
Right,
6'4", 250 pounds. He was a giant man, and there were stories of him getting attacked by. There's one story
A bear?
that was in there. No,
Oh.
Indians.
Oh.
You know, because
better.
these guys, all these guys, the frontiersmen, as soon as the weather got nice, they're gone. They're gone. They leave home. They leave the encampment. They leave the family. And so when the weather gets nice, let's say, because they're all up there around Tennessee, North Carolina, Kentucky, you know, Ohio, up in. So you figure right around April, May, they're out of there, you know, and they don't come back until November, and then they stay home in the wintertime.
Yeah.
And basically hang out and have sex and create kids and
Right. Procreate.
and so in Daniel Boone's case, and they're supposedly going out and discovering land, you know,
Right.
territories and marking it for themselves but these guys weren't that bright, and other people would steal the land from them. But and all these guys too were connected with the Indians in good and bad ways. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
But there was one where like a group of Indians, maybe like half a dozen, attacked Boone and this other big dude. And Boone in the fight got knocked out. And they said the guy picked up Boone and used his body to beat off the other Indians. They used it as a weapon, you know, used his
God.
body as a weapon.
Swinging him
How
around.
one of the stories went. And there was a story, and Daniel Boone, when Indians would catch a really prized enemy, and Daniel Boone would be that. He was known. He had a reputation
Yeah.
as one of the leaders of the white settlement, and they caught him at some point in time. They captured him, and so if they were going to kill you, if the Indians were just going to kill you, they'd always have fun with you for a while. So it was always torture deaths.
Yeah.
You know, one was they loved to just, you know, tie you to a tree and just have target practice. Just use you as target practice. And it was like
terrifying.
with a knife or a bow
That's
and
the
arrow,
worst.
it's like the goal was how many times can they hit you and you don't die. So it's like,
Jesus.
you know, don't hit any vital organs.
Yeah.
Try to keep them alive, but hit them as many times as you can. The other one was, and when they were ready for you to go, they'd cut you they knew right where the end of your small intestine was, which is 24 feet long.
Yeah.
And they would cut you open there and take that out and nail it to a tree.
Oh my
and then
God.
chase you around the tree and disembowel you.
Jesus.
That was a lot of fun for the Indians.
I'm not running then.
There was always
Yeah.
So there were
What are
all
they
these
chasing you with?
and this was all these stories. And the thing about it is, the Indians did it. Well, so did any torture that the settlers learned from the Indians, they did to the Indians,
Yeah.
and vice versa. They were all doing it.
Well, that's so
It was
Vicious
horrible
circle.
shit. It was
Yeah.
horrible shit.
People are mean.
And
People are mean.
People
so,
are mean.
but if you were a big deal, they made a show out of you, and so they would take you to the largest village, and they tied you down,
Like a hog.
stake to the ground, and while you're tied down, they keep you alive. They give you enough food and water to keep you alive. And basically, while you're tied down, the women and the children can just fuck with you. You're just something that for them to do.
Kick you and stuff.
Whatever they want to do, you know, but they can't kill you because there's getting ready to be a big feast, and you're the star.
Right.
And at the end of the feast, you got to run the gauntlet. And what that is that everybody in the village lines up in two lines with a pathway down the middle that's just big enough for a person to run. And everybody in that line has got something to hit you with. And you got to try to get to the other end without getting beaten to death.
And they let you go if you get all the way through?
No.
They said no, they take you to the next village.
Oh, then why the hell would I?
Well,
Yeah.
Boone ran, I don't know how many he ran successfully, but there was a number where they did let him go. Yeah, I think he got 4 or something like
Yeah,
that. And
he
after
broke our
that,
record.
they were like, "You are a great warrior. You know, we respect you as a great warrior," and they let him go. They were like, "You're awesome, man.
You're
You-
awesome,
You
man."
were awesome. You're a
It's
badass."
like, I hate all of you.
You know.
Can
And,
you sign my clay palette?
Exactly.
But
You're a rock star,
I've
Boone.
I've never seen a movie made about that.
You
know,
got great movie ideas.
Last of the Mohicans was close to that realism, but still, I've never seen a movie that really depicted what these books had in them that I read, doing research about how things really were in that day and
Dances
time.
with Wolves, maybe.
Was close. Was close. Was this the one? Those were like the Last Mohicans.
Right.
Dances with Wolves were as close as we got. Dances with Wolves was pretty close
Yeah.
to that kind of a movie. Yeah, yeah. But yeah. I mean, there's a lot of great books out there that have never been done. I'm sure.
Well, that's so weird. It's like there's so many movies that depict the Native Americans as like heroic or
Yeah,
like pure.
yeah.
But there were some tribes that were pretty fucked up, like without a doubt.
Well, if you consider that, they basically were invaded.
Yeah.
They were basically. I mean, we didn't come here and ask them if we could buy their shit.
No, not at all.
You know what I mean? And cut
We did make
cut a
bullshit
righteous
treaties.
deal with them. No,
Yeah.
we killed them and we just took their shit.
And we also we
'cause
signed bullshit contracts too.
Well, we just. I mean, it's the way things are even done to this day.
Yeah.
In some when people can get away with it.
Right.
You know, in these third world ass countries and shit. I mean, that's the reason Africa's still in the bullshit that it's in, because they just take advantage. And that's the thing is, as long as, if you're not smart enough, it's like the thing of, if you're not smart enough that you can't beat me intellectually,
Right.
and what I can figure out and all that kind of stuff, then fuck you.
Yeah.
You get what you deserve.
Right.
And that's been our culture, forever.
For a long time. Yeah.
And it's still in our culture.
Yeah.
And
Survival of the fittest, basically.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Absolutely. That's probably a little bit of what's the difference between what some people would call a conservative and what some people would call a liberal. You know what I mean?
Sure.
It's like, hey, pull yourself up by your bootstraps and make it. If you
Right.
can't, fuck you.
Yeah.
And not that that's an extreme, but
Yeah.
but I mean, that's just the way that's the way things were. And yeah, when they came to this country, I mean, no doubt the Indians were pissed.
Oh yeah.
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 I mean, good Lord. I mean, the Trail of Tears, what Andrew Jackson did to the Cherokee Indians was fucking horrific.
Oh, he was
and
specifically hated Indians for whatever reason.
Oh God. Well, I mean, that was the
Wartime.
thing. I mean, we were. I mean, white Europeans were, not. I don't think in too many cases were too awful kind to
Anybody really.
anybody of color. Through the centuries. I mean, they were the race that seemed to dominate.
Right.
Intellectually, and they created the most weaponry. That's for sure.
Yeah.
They created that.
The best ways to kill people. That's what
That's
they
right.
figured out.
But that was something we've talked about, in that something that I think that to this day that we don't talk about is that we're into with Trump especially, all this segregation stuff's reared its ugly head again.
Yeah.
And it never went away. It's just that now that he's in it, it's out in the forefront again.
Right.
Never went away, and it's like, but there's this thing of like, oh, well, that's wrong, and you just need to change. Well, I go, that's not that that's not right, but we have been a culture, we have been a species that has developed by and lived and stayed alive and evolved because we're tribal.
Yeah.
If you're not in a tribe, you're fucked.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? That's the way it's always been. You better be in a tribe.
Yeah.
And what are the tribes going to be? Well, the tribes are going to be the people that live closest together and look alike.
That look alike.
You know what I mean? Because culturally, and especially as we're evolving, that's what you can trust. It's what you know.
Right.
Anything that looks different or acts different, hey, there wasn't hundreds of years ago. How was anybody going to be sophisticated enough to figure that shit out?
Well, also language. Like that's a huge
Yes,
one. It's
absolutely.
like when cultures can't even communicate with each other, it's always going to end bad. Like
Sure.
always.
Sure. And so up until the 1900s.
Yeah.
Up until the 1900s, you didn't have we didn't have a culture where you had law enforcement and military to protect you. So you didn't need to be in a tribe. You didn't have, and really probably up until the mid 1900s where that was really somewhat effective.
Society.
You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And so to where you could even make that decision to not be in a tribe and feel
Right.
that you could survive, that you could be okay. And of course that didn't really open up to any kind of what we think of as cultural freedom of, any race,
Right.
everything being the same.
Those civil
That
rights.
didn't even begin until the 70s.
Yeah.
Civil rights started in the 60s to open the door, but that thought process didn't even begin to enter anybody's heads until the 70s as far as masses go. And so it's really new. It's a new concept. And I think that you don't hear conversations enough about that's where we are, and we have to there's going to take a lot of education and time generationally
Yeah.
to get people there. So how do we do that in a way that protects people but still understands that you can't just say don't believe that anymore? That ain't gonna fucking work. It's just not. It's just not. It has to work out of the. We have to evolve.
Yeah,
through it.
What I find mostly now, it seems that it's not so much about ethnicity. I mean, on the surface, it looks like that, especially with my generation. It's more about cultures. It's like there's so many different subcultures and so many things to subscribe to that, like you'll have fucking Star Trek fans beating the shit out of Star Wars fans. You know what I'm saying? Because the culture clash. Like something as simple as that's a dumb idea, but like that's what I found is like.
Well, we were talking about. My wife Pam ran into a lady from India the other day and just had a great conversation with her. And she told her, we won't go to India, my husband and I.
Yeah.
I can't go somewhere that treats a lot of their people in a way that I just can't support.
Right.
And that class system that they have over there where they have the untouchables.
It's brutal.
You know, and it's based on, it's their beliefs, it's their culture. And that's what the lady was saying. She goes, well, you know, culturally, that's the way things are there, and you have to accept that culture. And I go, no, I don't really.
No.
I can understand it, but I can't support it. Not through the way that I believe. And you know, and so we got to getting past that worldwide. But you know, you were mentioning the language. There's and if I have it right, there's a story. Of Tower of Babel.
Tower of Babel, yeah.
Exactly. So the Tower of Babel story. So if I've got this right, Tower of Babel is God came and said, you guys are all screwing around and you ain't being the way you ought to be. So as a little punishment to you, I'm going to break you all apart, and
they were
you're all going to, by having different languages. And your goal is, as a race, is to figure out how to come back together
and unify. It was,
and we still ain't done it.
They were in the.
We got there.
The Bible version is like humans had finally unified, and then they all spoke the same language.
Right.
But all different cultures, and they were building a tower to the heavens.
Right.
Which is like symbolic for so many different fucking things.
Yes.
And it can be interpreted in so many different ways.
Yeah.
But that's essentially what it was. That he struck down the tower and sent all the people across the land, and then of course through just how languages are like that. The languages develop and evolve because of terminologies, discoveries, and also slang.
Right.
Yeah.
So eventually everything kind of got fucked up, and that's why you have.
Yeah.
I mean, if you look at we're talking about Native Americans, Iroquois Nation. They were one of the biggest nations there was, and they were called the Defenders of the West. And there's historians that believe that if they could have just figured out how to speak the same language as some of the other tribes in the area, they would have united, and they would have totally pushed out the settlers easily, like overnight. That's how many people that they had. Problem is that none of them spoke the same language. This is all like in the same area,
right?
And the languages are so different.
And there was no reason for them to unify until we came.
Yeah,
they saw there was no threat.
It was too late. Yeah.
There was no threat. Yeah, by the time we came, because we were unified.
Yeah.
Or Europeans were.
Yeah, they spoke the same language.
That was us.
That's the biggest thing, I think. That's why I want to talk about the universal language. Like, they've been trying to do that since the 70s, I think. Right?
I know, but it's so weird to me that people who are Christian and really follow that doctrine know the Tower of Babel.
It's an interesting story.
And know that God has said, hey, here's your challenge, man.
Yeah.
Your challenge is to come back. I'm splitting you up, is to be able to come back together and unify. And if you do, you will have done what you need to do for this place to be what it should be.
Yeah.
And you know what I mean? What they are should be. And there's your challenge as a human race. But you don't really see, there is some movement in that direction. Now, I won't say there's none. There is some, and there's people that are trying. But it's not overwhelming.
No.
At least to what we see out there,
That's what you find, though, is like the differences in cultures. They see the future differently.
Yes.
Just look at conservative and liberal. They have two completely different ideas of how the future should be.
Right.
It's completely different, and I don't just mean like I mean all the way like flying cars versus, everything. They have a completely different version of how they
Absolutely.
would like the future to be, and that's one of the problems probably.
But I think our generation makes more, like we accept more. People
We're
are
more
way
accepting.
more openly gay.
Yeah,
There's all this, even
Ethnicities,
25
yeah.
years ago that wasn't,
Oh no, absolutely.
you know.
no,
Once again,
There's small stuff
the
happening.
70s, because I was in my 20s in the 70s, was when things began to
Yeah.
open-mindedness towards
Right.
acceptance of gender equality,
Yeah.
sexual orientation equality, but it was just opening the door at that
It was-
point in
yeah.
time.
Yeah.
That was all it was.
I mean, I remember freshman year of high school, you kind of knew who was gay, but no one said they were
Right,
gay.
right.
And by senior year, I mean, people were
it was okay.
skipping down the hallway
It was okay. Yeah,
within those 3 years.
yeah. That's
Yes.
another thing. And that's what the LGBTQ,
XYZ.
XYZ, all that stuff. It's like I don't know if they're doing this on purpose, but they are accidentally forming a culture. Like they are creating
Yeah.
a culture, which can be a good thing because they have like community in that.
Yeah.
But it's also can be a bad thing because they are separating themselves from
Well,
society.
we were talking about this, in the land of the free, home of the brave.
Right.
All right. We go, is it going to be okay to go, look, I am a segregationist, and
Yeah.
I'm not hateful. I'm not hateful. I'm not, but
Right.
I really am more comfortable and living in a culture or
Society.
a society
Yeah.
where everyone is like me.
Yeah.
And I really, that's the kind of place I want to live in. It's just me. It's just I want. And right now there's kind of a thing. I mean, the thing would be no, that's not okay.
No.
It's not okay. But I'm wondering, well, should it be okay?
I don't
Should
know.
it be okay for people to be able to do that? I mean,
Well, they
obviously
naturally
it's
do it
like
anyway.
you could live there, but you couldn't say, oh,
You can't be
other races can't come into
Yeah.
this town.
No.
You can't say, oh, no, you can't
A
do
lot
that.
of the bigger cities like that though, like in New York, when just walk into the Broadway Comedy Club, like
Yeah.
I forgot the street or whatever, but we hit like all these Jews. I mean, they're
Hasidic
looking,
Jews,
yeah, and they're looking at us like, "What are you doing?" And my buddy's like, "Oh yeah, these 9 blocks."
Oh, it's Hasidic.
Yeah,
Yeah.
but that
Yeah.
like
Orthodox.
you can live
Or-
there if you want to. You could go buy a
Yeah.
apartment there if you want.
Yeah.
Right.
But they just took over those 9 blocks.
Right.
And, or you go to another neighborhood and it's mostly African American. You can,
Yeah.
Right.
You could, there's no,
No,
nothing
yeah.
against a Caucasian buying an apartment there, but
That's
it's
exactly right. That's
Yeah.
exactly. So,
You
but I think there's a real demonizing thing of going. No,
Tribalism.
should that
Yeah.
be okay?
like
Should that-
Chinatown.
Should that even be okay?
Chinatown, you
And-
feel like you went to a whole nother place.
Oh, of course.
Well,
Yeah.
it goes
And
back.
I don't mind. I think it's kind of cool to go into an area
Yeah.
that's culturally saturated with a
Yeah.
certain culture that you get to dive into. As long as, and I think that's
That's-
that's where it lies. Is you go, yes, it's okay to do that, but you have to be accepting
Yeah.
of any other culture coming into you
Yeah.
where you are peacefully. As long as they're peaceful, you need to be peaceful towards them.
Yeah.
And accepting and allow them to be there. Yes.
Yeah,
Right.
but I think the South, that's why, like, we're pretty much, I mean, we don't really have anything like that. I
Nah.
grew up with Spanish, black.
Yeah, and I prefer it
YG.
that way because like I don't want to be around a bunch of people that are exactly like-minded like me. Like that would be annoying.
Like, we don't have a neighborhood that's, like, all, you
It'd be
know?
stupid.
But you
yeah.
go to these bigger cities and,
Could you imagine being like with people that always agree with you? Like that would be
Yeah.
fucking
But that
stupid.
but that's what makes the world go around, right? I mean,
Yeah.
there's certain of us that like diversity. We
Yeah.
like that. We
Yeah.
we
I
enjoy
enjoy it.
being in an area that has a lot of diversity, and that's just the way we work. And then
Yeah.
other people are like, no, man, that makes me nervous.
yeah.
Yeah.
I don't want to learn. I just and hey, I don't, and I just think we're not I don't know. I think people are almost afraid to say that that's okay.
Yeah.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? For you to say, I'm not comfortable with that. And immediately then you're a racist.
Right,
Yeah.
right.
You're
Well,
a racist. You're a
people
dog. You go,
jump-
well, no,
Yeah.
you know, I'm just, you
People
know.
jump real quick at that stuff, though. Like, you have to be so accepting of everything, otherwise
Yes.
you're a piece of shit. And it's like,
That's right.
I mean, I don't know about everything. I don't know about everything.
Yeah.
Well, the
you ever
thing
seen
about it is-
furries? Like, people dressing up like fucking dogs.
Yeah,
and
yeah, yeah,
fucking
yeah,
each other.
yeah.
Just saying, I'm not gonna go to your party. You know what I mean?
Right. Well, the thing
I
is
don't have
is
to
that,
go to your
Yeah.
party.
and I think that's what we've seen has happen is that we forced our culture here in the United States and maybe in other places in the world too to go, you can't say that or else you're immediately labeled. And
Right.
so people go, okay, I'll tell you what you want to hear, but that ain't what I'm thinking.
Yeah,
That's not what I
It's
believe.
oppression, really.
And so people just play the game.
Right.
And I think that's what we've been having in this country probably, you know, for 70s, 80s, 90s up till, you know, now.
Yeah.
People been playing the game.
And I think that
And now all of a sudden Trump got in and not, it's not just Trump, but it's what all that did.
Well, yeah, it's-
and it opened the door to go, no, you can say that.
Right,
and
right.
and people are saying it, and then people are going,
Whoa,
well,
yeah.
you
Pump
racist
the
crazy.
brakes,
I
yeah.
mean, you know, so, and some of those people are racist.
Yeah.
But some of them are just, I think, not like hateful towards other cultures, but they're just not comfortable with
Yeah.
it.
That's what it is. It's culture clash. That's,
Yes.
That's really.
Uh-huh.
I was trying to write this bit one time about like hating somebody for their ethnicity is the dumbest thing ever because there's so many better reasons to hate somebody.
Oh, yeah, you do that in
Like,
your show,
yeah,
don't you?
I did it one time, and it's just like
It's a good idea for a bit.
it got weird, and it was like I was saying like you might think you're not racist, but it's like because you have one black friend, but like your one
Right.
black friend wears Crocs and goes golfing with you every Sunday.
Right.
If your friend Daryl was dropping a mixtape next week and wore Yeezys, like you wouldn't even let him on the golf course.
Well, I don't even know what it
that's-
was. I just heard recently
Yeah.
there's a term that the African American community uses towards white people that do that. You're only my friend because
It's a popularity contest.
yeah, you
Yeah.
feel you need that, or
Yeah.
you know, and there was something, and I can't remember. I was just hearing a whole thing about that, and I was like, Jesus, you can't win for losing in this. You know,
No.
you can't even try. Then
Well,
you're,
there's
you know,
definitely that part, but you can see it's inauthentic. You
Yes.
can see that person's trying extra hard to be like, oh, this is my black friend Darren. You know what I mean? Like,
Yeah.
like
Oh,
almost
right.
like they
Look,
have a reputation of
yeah,
being
yeah.
a racist. Like, I'm not racist. Look, my friend here. It's like that doesn't mean
Yeah.
you're not racist.
yeah,
Like,
yeah.
Darren's exactly like you.
I
Like,
think that
it's
goes
this
in
culture
the,
clash.
in the
Yeah.
comedy. Like,
I'm gonna
I
go
mean-
grab a beer. Anybody want anything?
I'm all right.
I'm good.
Okay.
Comedy, that's the same thing.
Yeah.
You know, back in the day, you could say whatever you want. Now you have to kind of play towards.
It feels like it. Yeah. I feel like you're just not supposed to be an asshole.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
But if you ever watch old, like,
Oh
You
yeah, yeah,
know.
yeah.
Comic View, BET,
Look at Raw, Eddie Murphy Raw.
oh my
He
God.
was saying
They'll
he's
destroy
saying-
the crowd. They
Yeah.
say whatever.
He said like fag like 20 times in that special. Like,
Yeah, but if you're a big name, you say it now. Oh my,
Yeah.
you'll be on the news for all bad reasons.
Yeah. Yeah, I remember somebody told me that they were like, you can't say everything's too politically correct. You can't say anything anymore. And I was like, I think it just has to be good.
Yeah.
Like if you're gonna do a racial bit, it can't be a half-at. Now there's so much pressure on it now. Like it
Yeah.
forces it to be excellent. Otherwise, if it's not, you're gonna get shit on. You know what I mean? If you're
Yeah.
punching down and stuff, it's got to be really, really good. Basically now.
Yeah.
Any sexist joke, any gay joke, any
Yep.
of those things, it's got to be excellent. Otherwise, you're gonna get torn apart by social media and shit like that. So that's what I found. That's why I was trying to like make everything about, not everything, but a lot of my bits like revolve around me. Like how
That's
I-
the safest way to play.
you have to. I mean, and I didn't do it because I had to. It was funnier to me. Like when I do
Yeah.
a transgender bit, it's all about how this transgender man knows how to be a man better than me. Like it's not at all offensive to transgender people. It's offensive to myself. Like if it, you know what I mean? If there was like an audience that was supporting me, they'd be like, "What the fuck? Like why are you so hard on yourself? This is messed up, man."
Yeah,
like,
yeah.
But that's how I played it because it's funnier that way. It wouldn't be funny to be like he's not a man. You know, he
Yeah.
doesn't know. I'm trying to teach him what to do. With this. You know what I mean? That wouldn't.
Exactly.
That angle's not funny at all. It's not.
And that's, I mean, to get booked in comedy clubs, that's how you gotta play it. You
Yeah.
gotta, even if they think it's funny, they're not gonna book you just because you could stir up something
No.
and lose a bunch of
Yeah.
fans that come here weekly.
Yeah, that's why it's like sometimes they'll be like, yo, you gotta be clean, or they'll be like, they just don't want you to be risky.
Yeah,
Like you could not say the F word, but you could still have like a really edgy bit. You know what I mean? So.
Yeah, it's good though.
weird.
Sometimes to do those one-nighters or bar shows because my material changes so drastically from
Show to show.
from like a comedy club to like a bar show.
Yeah.
Like
yeah.
it's way more raw in a bar show.
Yeah, it's weird.
Like when I know the bar show ain't gonna make or break my career,
Yeah.
my material's way different.
I remember I was doing the open mic. I think Les actually did stick around for this one, and Johnny had me open up the show. I'd be the first open micer just because he didn't know anybody on the list. So he was like, I just need somebody to start the show, blah, blah, blah. And I'm doing it, and I go, I'm so white, the NRA just gave me a gun. And I'm looking over, and there's a four-top of elderly people. And as soon as I said that, they all went like this. And like my whole show just turned into that then. I just kept going, I'm so sorry. Like, please forgive me. And I would be like, you guys watch the news? And I'm like, I know you guys watch the news, probably Fox News. You know, and I just ended up like placating to them and like apologizing for all my material, and like they ended up loving it. Like it was definitely against like what they would assume is like funny, but the fact that I was playing into it and being like, I'm sorry, like I feel like my parents are watching right now. It was just like all became that, and my whole set was like committed to like just these four people in the front row. It was such a terrible idea, but it worked. But
that's the thing about comics now. You got to say what you think is funny, but also that's not going to be offensive.
Yeah.
Well, and I think that Eric Meyer last week did that bit on serial killers.
Yeah.
And he goes, you know why I'm doing the bit on serial killers? He goes, because it's the only people you can make fun of anymore.
And that's so true.
But you know, the thing is, to me, is that great comics, a lot of great comics, Chris Rock, years ago when we first had him here, and you're talking about this was back early 90s, real early 90s. You know, to watch his show then and see how he played race, black, white, so balanced. He was so balanced, you know. It's like if he went off on the white race for some reason, then he goes, but we're not any better. You know what I mean?
Right.
You know,
exactly.
we have a tendency to do this. Yeah. And he just bounced it back and forth, and it was very honest, but hilarious, you know, exaggerated, you know, and had its absurdities in there, you know. And that's the thing people have to remember is when it's comedy is you go, our main thing we're trying to do is make you laugh. You got to get away from when you come to a comedy club that we're trying to teach you something. We're not trying to teach you anything.
No.
You know, that's not why we're here. We're trying to get laughs.
It's not a seminar.
And sometimes we're using topical material because it's what we all have in common.
Yeah.
You know? And you should be able to tease anything, you know, in the right, you know, I mean, it's you know, it's like I tell you, it's as long as it's not coming across as mean,
punching down,
in mean spirit.
Yeah.
If it comes across in mean spirit, the audience will pick up on that really quick.
Yeah, that's weird.
But of course, we do have now people are just overly sensitive about certain things.
Yeah.
But I'm a little to get over it. The other night, one of my class last night, the class show. So it was the first time on stage.
Yeah.
He did a bit about being an altar boy, and of course, you know where that. As soon as he says I was an altar boy, I go as an audience, you need to, you know where this is going. I mean, for God's sakes, for God's. So he said he goes, the Jesuit priests. He goes, now if you don't know what that is, he goes, they're the highest level, they're the most educated. You know, they're like the PhDs of priests.
Yeah.
He goes, so he goes, I was never hit on by a Jesuit priest. You wouldn't be unless you scored at least 1,200 on the SAT.
Yeah.
And
that's light,
the
too.
crowd oohed him. They were like, ooh. And I literally got up afterwards and I went, was the Jesuit priest thing a little too, you had to give him, was that a little too soon? A little too soon?
Yeah.
Are you shitting me?
Yeah.
Like, in other words, like you're defending that? You know,
you're mad at us.
You're mad at us. You
Makes
know,
no sense. Yeah.
You know, it's like yes, we all realize that most Catholics are good people, and we all realize that most Catholic priests are good people.
Right.
But by God, there's a shitload of them that ain't.
and highly documented. I mean, to this day, we're still uncovering shit out of that culture that just is terrible, you know, and you know, and you go, well, of course you're gonna pick on
And
that.
fuck them. Like, don't. Yeah, like if we bring them up, we're bringing them to trash their name.
We're not trashing all priests. We're trashing the ones that are pedophiles.
Yeah, fuck those people.
And they are.
Yeah.
Those guys are, you know.
Well, it's like that whole Michael Jackson documentary now.
Oh,
People
yeah,
are losing it over that.
He's over. Yeah, that's
Yeah.
People are losing their. I mean,
It's
people
gonna be
are.
a hate crime if you just play his music now. It's gonna
There's
be bad.
death threats. There's
Oh yeah.
It's crazy.
And you know, that was something I was talking about with Bill Cosby when he was, you know, it looked like he was going down, and of course he finally did.
Yeah.
Do you condemn the art with the artist? In other words, do you condemn the art with the artist? Culturally, we still admire Michelangelo. Not the nicest human being in the world. He was a weird son of a bitch, and he did some weird fucking shit.
Yeah.
There's an author, playwright, Jean Genet, who still his plays are done, you know, and renowned. And they say he was criminal. He's stone fucking criminal. He was not a good guy at all. There's a lot of great artists that created great art through history.
'Cause they're crazy.
That were not nice people. That did some weird fucking shit.
Yeah.
And so you wonder, so now it's just real close to us, like with Michael Jackson or Bill Cosby. But you wonder if they're great enough artists 100 years from now, they might still enjoy that art.
That's a hard
and go, yeah, but he was a pedophile. It's a shame he was a pedophile, but you know, boy, that damn Thriller album's a motherfucker. You know what I mean? You know, 100 years from now, you know, I mean, it could be. I mean, you know, same way with Bill Cosby.
I'm not gonna change the song if a Michael Jackson song comes on, but
I mean, I still listen to.
I watched the documentary. I'm like, wow, it's insane.
Pretty dark.
Yeah, but like I think his music and his personality separate.
But look what I mean. Vicious fucking psycho. Like his dad was molesting people. Like,
What does that mean? Some people,
shit is crazy. Like,
Yes.
yeah.
Yeah.
He molested several of those children, of the Jackson children. It's like,
Well, the reason I think that
Jesus fuck.
I think you can back up to almost every fucked up shit that happens in the world back to child abuse.
Oh yeah,
Yeah.
for sure.
You can bring it back to child abuse almost every time.
It's one of the
If
most-
every child in this world was treated humanely, you know, and raised in a humane way, a truly humane and safe way,
even just one generation,
and cared for,
right?
you would cure most of the ills of this
so then
earth,
it goes
without
back
a
to the
doubt.
point
Without
is
a
it
doubt.
like what he did is wrong? Yeah, but was his brain almost wired that way because he dealt with it growing up? you
Yeah.
know? If somebody tells you white people are bad, you're gonna grow up
Of course.
hating
Probably,
white
yeah.
people.
Of course.
Yeah.
It's
Of
not your
course.
fault. That's
But
just
it is to an extent though. Like at a certain maturity, you should know what is ethically right and wrong.
I don't know though, unless you.
I do. I think like there's no doubt in my mind that Michael Jackson knew what he was doing was a terrible fucking thing. You know what I mean? I'm not saying.
But
Like,
also, and I'm not supporting and defending anything,
Right.
but I also go, I've been around enough mental illness now to have a lot more compassion for assholes.
yeah.
I swear to God. You know, because now where I just go, that guy's just an asshole. That person's just a fucking asshole. You go, now I realize they truly might not be able to help it.
They might not even know.
Yes, they don't even get it. My turn. Good talk.
Oh yeah, baby. All right, we're gonna wrap it up.
All right.
Good shit. Good night. Thank you for tuning into the podcast this week. Please go to our website at mccurdyscomedy.com to check out all of our shows and upcoming events. Also, follow Vinnie Ward on Instagram at I'm a Stand-Up Guy and his Twitter at Vinnie Ward. Also, go to Scott Novotny's website at scottnovotny.com. That's Scott, Novotny.com. And we'll see you next week. Thank you very much.